Chapter 18. Naruto wasn't just a self-proclaimed stamina freak. His sensei had said it, his teammates had said it, even Jiraiya had said it. Today, however, he was being pushed harder than he'd ever been in his life. Why? Because Kakashi was a dick. "You're slowing down, Naruto." Yelping and blocking a kunai with Kubikuri Bocho, the boy had to complete the spin and unleash a blast of wind from its broadside in order to blast Sakura away from him. This, however, left him open to Sasuke, who was amping up a phoenix fire not far from him. Hastily created clone hurling him away, said clone was happy to activate several seals and explode to give him more cover even as it was engulfed in fire. Kakashi was there, however, and forcing the boy to block and parry his sensei's twin kunai use with his sword. Sure, he had the weight and reach advantage, but Kakashi had literal decades of experience on him. Being pushed and sweating copiously, the boy groaned internally that he couldn't just clone spam his way out of this. Damn Kakashi and his rules. Come on, Dobe. You're supposed to be the strong one, right? Sasuke and Sakura were arching forward, flanking him from both sides, while Kakashi backed away. Hurling his sword with all his might at his sensei, he freed up his hands for quick seals before pressing his hand to the ground. Kuchios no Jutsu. Finding himself atop a 7-foot-tall toad with black markings, Naruto grinned, "Need some wind, buddy?" "On it, Naruto." Voice wheezy and high, the toad's stomach expanded before he slapped it to release the wind blast. Both Sasuke and Sakura were caught in it, sent tumbling and rolling while Naruto resummoned his blade to his hand. Toad and boy jumping away from their position as hard as they could, they just missed Kakashi erupting from the ground. "Nice try, sensei." Seeing his sensei wave and then poof from existence, Naruto sighed as he felt someone grab the back of his jacket. "You got overconfident, Naruto." "Allow me to correct that." Kakashi was able to get 3 jabs into the boy's lower back before his toad assistant was able to kick him away. Naruto still ended up rolling on the ground from the force of it. Groaning but welling up his chakra, he had to fight not to pull from the Kyuubi's chakra. Again cursing Kakashi's rules, Naruto spun with Kubikuri Bocho like a bat. Wind being picked up, he released his technique. Futon, de Tapa. The gale force wind sent all of his opposing members of Team 7 flying, the training ground itself also taking substantial damage. Looking to follow it up, he hurled his sword edge first at where his team would land. Making 2 clones and holding on to them, he vanished when the sword collided with Kakashi's hastily put up guard. All of his teammates being surprised by 3 Narutos appearing before them, Sasuke and Sakura were caught to far off guard in order to stop themselves from being captured. Exploding seals, glowing but not taking the next step. The Naruto holding Kakashi had spun around to his back and was holding a Rasengan to his spine, a grin on his face. "Got ya, Kakashi." "You sure about that?" Why was that voice behind him? 1,000 years of death. "You pervert." Screaming and being launched into the air, Naruto once more wished death on his teacher. Landing in a heap, he almost missed Kakashi clapping and calling an end to their training. "You've all done so well to improve today. Sasuke, Sakura, your teamwork is phenomenal and you're beginning to cover each other's holes very well. Sasuke, your Phoenix fire earlier still doesn't spread enough, work on that. Sakura, there's a possibility we should add Jinjutsu to your abilities. You had many instances that even a minor one would have helped you so much." "Hi, sensei." "Yeah, I hear ya." Turning to Naruto, who had retrieved his sword and rejoined them, Kakashi was still grinning. "You're making great strides yourself. If you didn't have the restriction from clones or Kyuubi chakra, I doubt alone we could stop you. However, that's just raw power. This is meant to improve your technique and efficiency after all. You excel at thinking on the fly and making quick plans, but perhaps try to remember you can't always overpower your opponents." "Got ya, sensei." The point was to get better at what he had now, so that clone spamming would equal out to better, more efficient clones. He understood it, but didn't like it. Kakashi waved them all off. "It's a little after noon, so we can call it here for today. Go get some rest, reflect, and we'll be back at it again tomorrow." Waving the Jonin was gone in a swirl of leaves. Sealing his sword away with a sigh, he turned to his summon. "Thanks a lot, Kazaha." "No sweat, Naruto." The giant toad waving and returning to Toad Mountain, that left Team 7 alone on the field. Though Naruto was already turning to trudge back to the village. He was tired, sore, and ready for a nap. Sakura was of the same mind, turning to walk back to the village and maybe grab a bite to eat somewhere. "Hey Sakura. Pausing and turning back to Sasuke who had called her name, the pinkette tilted her head. What's up, Sasuke? She missed Naruto turning back to grin at Sasuke from behind her. Sasuke himself wanted to glare at the blonde, but he couldn't distract himself right now. You, wanna go get lunch? My treat? Sakura's world froze. Did Sasuke just ask her out? Sasuke Uchiha just asked her out on a date? Was this real? Did it finally happen? Did he recognize her womanly charms at last? Inner Sakura cheered loudly, let's get to it, sister. Yeah. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Trying not to dance and celebrate, she waited for Sasuke to pull up beside her before they walked back to the village together. Naruto, however, had already shoeshined away, happy to have seen more than enough for today. So the asshole decided to move forward, good. He'd get all the details later. Hopefully before they all teamed up on him again. Chuckling from the random rooftop he found himself on, he started to jump his way back home. None of his house clones had dispelled to report anything, so at least he was sure the girls were okay and the house was in one piece. Thoughts wandering as his mental fatigue began to catch up with him, he alighted upon his balcony and used a key to open his sliding door. Hello. Actually, having to greet anyone at home was still taking some getting used to. In the kitchen, Karen was fussing around with the stove. Naruto, welcome back. She was attempting to make lunch, which was having mixed results. It'd be edible, mostly, maybe. Tayuya was working out on the floor, trying to keep in shape as they were stuck in the house for the next few days. Still somewhat nervous about walking around the village unless they had a clear goal in mind. Yo, Whiskers. You look like shit. Naruto nodded as he collapsed on the couch, I feel like shit. Kakashi is trying to kill us. Body worn out, he figured a nap first might be better. Leaning out of the kitchen to see the boy, Karen waved a large spoon at him, you should go shower at least. I'm making lunch as well. She was attempting to make ramen from scratch, though she was beginning to think that was a bad idea. Groaning, Naruto waved a hand above him, I know I should. I'll get up in a moment. Tayuya rolled over to lay on her front, beginning a set of push-ups, didn't know you could be such a mother hen, Karen. I'm adjusting is all. Focusing on her self-appointed work, Karen thought about their time limit and her own plans. Naruto, do you need help? Naruto eventually rolled to his feet from the couch, nah, I'm just being lazy. I'll take a shower and get cleaned up. Tayuya just smirked, well, feel free to forget a shirt again, the view is nice. Tayuya. Karen still wished her friend wouldn't be so vulgar. I'm not a housewife, get over it. Shaking his head, Naruto unsealed a change of clothes and headed for the shower in hopes that getting cleaned up would also refresh him a bit. Outside of the bathroom and back in the living room, Karen was glaring at Tayuya, we're supposed to be nice. Voice just barely above a harsh whisper, she didn't want to alert Naruto to their conversation. Tayuya popped up to her feet, shrugging at the younger Uzumaki, this is my nice. Would you like to see mean? No. Then don't complain. Both of them descending into silence. It was Tayuya who sighed and walked over to lean on the kitchen counter, I'm trying, alright? Nice is hard. Karen nodded, I don't get it. I do. Oda wasn't the nicest and I was only there for barely 2 months. I can't whatever you went through whatever I went through we don't have to talk about ever. Voice dangerously low, Tayuya was looking back out of the window. She did not want to think about some of the things she experienced. You know, that's starting to smell burnt. Karen groaned and turned off the burner, leaning back against the fridge, it is. I was really trying this time. Maybe you're like me, lackluster housewife material. Or maybe you could put a little more effort into this. Making a show of looking herself up and down, Tayuya shrugged, short of walking around naked, don't know how much more I could be doing. Blushing, the younger redhead pointed at the more outgoing girl, that's not what I meant. We're trying to get to know Naruto, and maybe convince him to let us stay forever. Not that. Tayuya shrugged, he's a man, men like boobs, shouldn't be that hard. Men also have feelings, and his have been trampled on more than once. We should be working on understanding him. Tayuya was now leaning her cheek on a hand with a bored look, I say a good roll in the sack would fix him right up. And it'll make him want to keep us here. Grinning, the girl leered at Karen, come on, what guy on the planet doesn't want to shack up with 2 girls at once? Blush now full strength, Karen turned away to clean up her mess. You're a pervert. At least her creation didn't smell horrible as she chucked it all into the trash. She'd have to go buy food soon, however. I just know what guys want, that's all. Getting distracted from her thoughts, she focused on a red and green blur that was hurtling towards the balcony. Was that a person? Looking up from where she was cleaning dishes, she followed Tayuya's gaze to the balcony window. Why was a person flying towards Naruto's apartment? Catching himself and making an artful landing, Jiraiya was all grins as he laughed loudly to the stunned looks of Karen and Tayuya. It might have been more impressive if there wasn't an imprint of a fist on his face. Good afternoon, ladies. Have you seen my godson? Blinking and trying to rationalize that this was in fact a legendary ninja, Karen pointed down the hall when Tayuya failed to speak up, in the shower. Walking in and settling on the couch, Jiraiya looked the girls over. Good, I need to have a word with all of you anyway. Looking the girls over, he considered for a moment if this was the right thing to do. Sure, the village needed the Uzumaki, probably just as much as they needed the Uchiha, but they were kids. Mentally giving up as it wasn't his decision, he held up a hand as he heard footsteps returning. Hey, Naruto. Naruto himself was clean and dressed completely this time as he walked back out into the living room. Only slightly surprised to see his godfather, he rolled over the back of the smaller couch and scrubbed his towel through his hair. What's up, pervy sage? You know, a little respect would be nice, since we're working so hard to fix what the council broke. Naruto sighed. Hi, you're the wonderful Jiraiya, the toad sage known the world over as a super pervert. Damn straight. Moving his hands to his knees, the elder waved the girls to come around so he could see them all at once. Tayuya and Karen both walked around to lean over the back of the couch Naruto was sitting on, and Jiraiya got to explaining things. So here's the deal. There's a lot of political fuckery going on behind the scenes here. Tsunade is still a new and fresh Kage and is solidifying her power base, so she can't publicly help you at all. Yeah, I got the gist of that already. Jiraiya snapped a finger. However, now that there are 3 of you here, that gives you a good option. Since Naruto is a leaf nin, you can claim clan head. From there you present these 2 as members of your clan, along with evidence that your clan has been wronged by the council. We don't bring up the promotion. That's not the big one. Instead, we bring up the Uzumaki records and scrolls. That information is quite literally invaluable. As a clan head, you can make the case that the council being able to unilaterally take a clan's possessions means any clan could have the same conditions put on them. No one would normally support that. Naruto had to pause Jiraiya here, but they did already. What'll change just because I have a few new members now? I'm getting to that, brat. See, now that you have more members that are especially young women, you can make the case that you'll be restoring your clan. The Clan Restoration Act is a big deal. You might even get a few of the older clans trying to attach some of their own members to yours for future political pull. You have been talking to both the Hyuga and Yamanaka after all. Wiggling his eyebrows for a moment and getting groans from the boy, the man got serious. There is the matter as well, clan-specific sites around the village that only the Uzumaki can open. That perked the Uzumaki's interest. What do you mean? I thought everything of the Uzumaki was destroyed. Naruto sure hadn't been told about any places like that. Almost, but there are 2 that'll be of interest. One to just you, the other to everyone. The first is your parents' home, protected by seals and untouched since their death. Only you can open that one. Then there is the Uzumaki Temple. The blood seal on its grounds has weakened, and I'm sure it'll weaken enough for people to get in without your assistance within a few years, but for now only one of Uzumaki blood can enter. Its contents would literally be immeasurable in worth to the village. Naruto, however, leaned back with a sigh, earning a worried look from Karen. Once again, it comes down to the village wanting to use us. Jiraiya nodded solemnly, not wanting to bring up this next part but feeling like he should. Yes, but you'll be getting yours in the end here. The council will have to bow to any demand you make from here on. As a clan head, not only can you demand reparations and protections under the Restoration Act, but you also have the ability to pack up and leave legally, or even involve the daimyo. That last wouldn't be allowed to happen, even Jiraiya knew that. Legal it was sure, but Naruto was a Jinchuriki. Konoha would never let him go, and potential pure-blood Uzumaki children? Yeah, Naruto's life would be pretty much set in stone once he presented himself before the council. Jiraiya knew that, but also considered it might be for the best to protect the boy. Never mind that the daimyo had already been in the know about the distribution of Uzumaki assets, which stunk of a cover-up of the highest order. Jiraiya was almost ready to start burning clan compounds to the ground over this. Naruto, however, was figuring that out for himself and was coming up to a dark conclusion. Yeah, he could get some petty revenge on the council if he claimed clan head, but that'd be it. It'd be petty. The village would still gain access to more Uzumaki secrets, he'd still lose out on everything they had stolen in the past, and he'd still be worried about what the future could hold for his children if he had any. Add in potentially the Hyuga or Danzo getting a hand in his business? Maybe Koyaki's offer wouldn't be so bad after all. I'll think on it. Jiraiya stood and nodded, take your time, we've got plenty of it now. Tsunade needs to build up her base and you need to get acquainted with your clan mates. I'll keep in touch. It would help the village in future decisions if the kid did decide to relieve his stress with the girls and get one pregnant. The elder ninja just hoped he wasn't making another mistake concerning his godson here. He really did want the best for him, and Konoha was the safest place for him. Waving them all off, the sage was out the door and hopping back the way he came. Naruto, however, had a different thought entirely once he was sure Jiraiya was gone. I'm gonna need to go for a walk. Standing, he was headed for his front door and leaving Karen and Tayuya behind. Tayuya, however, was the first to pounce on the chance. Maybe we could go with you. You look like you need to vent. Naruto shook his head. Not right now. I need to be alone for a bit. Foregoing his jacket, he felt a tingle against his chakra. Frowning, he opened the door to see Hinata standing there with a hand raised to knock on the door. Hey Hinata. What timing? Hinata smiled softly, however. Hi Naruto. Did I come at a bad time? She wanted to talk to him about what she had seen last night. But something seemed to be bothering him. Yeah. I need some time on my own. You're welcome to hang out with the girls though. Looking back towards Karen and Tayuya, Tayuya waved off. I'm gonna take a nap, it's nice and warm in that room. Karen actually stepped forward. If you don't mind, I actually need to go back to the market and pick something up for dinner. Hinata looked to Naruto. I could accompany her, if you're busy. Appreciating the help, Naruto fished out his wallet and pulled some rather large Ryo notes and handed them to Karen. I'll be home around dark, I just need to think. Nodding to everyone, Naruto trudged out the door and down the stairs. Hinata watched him go before turning to Karen. Is everything okay? Karen watched Naruto go as well before shaking his head. I don't think so. We can talk while we shop, I guess. Tayuya waved them all away. Yeah sure, leave me all alone here, why don't you? A teasing grin on her face, Karen noticed she didn't mean it. Bring me back something sweet. Like Dango. Karen and Hinata started down the stairs as well after agreeing to do so. Closing the door and making their way, the girls were quiet for a short while. Making it to the street and greeting the lowering sun, it was still a bright afternoon. Hinata, however, figured if she had the other girl alone, this would be a good time to get some answers. Before she jumped to conclusions. Directing them instead on a more roundabout route, she wondered at how she would word her questions. Karen hadn't been in the Leaf Village long, but even she knew Hinata was not taking her near the market district. Ignoring her gut instinct that this was not okay, she was trying to trust someone that was close to Naruto. It was difficult, however. Hinata, where are we going? At least her senses told her no one was nearby. Hinata sighed, stopping at the entrance of an alleyway and turning to the girl fully with her Byakugan active. Checking and confirming no one was near them, she released it and asked her most important question to her. If you had the option to leave the village with Naruto, you would, correct? Karen froze for a moment. Did the Hyuga know they were spies? Should she run for it? Were there other ninja just out of her range waiting to grab her? I'm not turning you into the Hokage. This is a personal question from me. We want to stay with Naruto. If we have to leave the village to do so, we will. She'd make the decision for Tayuya as well. The older girl may have more experience, but still trusted the more bookish girl with decisions like this. Hinata nodded, seeing no lie in the other girl's eyes. I didn't know you were sent here. Seeing panic on Karen's face, Hinata raised a hand to try and calm her. Like I said, this is just me. No one else knows. I've been thinking about leaving myself. Why? You're the heir to probably the most prestigious clan in Konoha. Why would you leave them behind? Was a part. I'm just useless baggage now. My father has already made it clear the only use I still have for the clan is to wed Naruto and join the clans through marriage. Hyuga eyes with Uzumaki vitality. It would set the Hyuga clan for generations as the top clan, possibly in the nations. Never mind that with the Uzumaki rebuilding with their support, they'd have said clan under their thumb. Her father hadn't told her everything to her face, but between her research of the Uzumaki and what few tidbits she'd gotten about the council and Naruto's telling of what had happened, she knew where things would lead. Karen, however, was frowning. Were you using Naruto as well? Was there anyone in this village who actually cared for him? Hinata turned cold eyes to the other girl. Don't mistake, I have believed in and supported Naruto for years. I love him. I would burn this village to the ground for him. Don't think you know us so well, Karen. Shivering and wishing she never received that look again, Karen nodded, sorry. Just. Everyone seems to be using the Uzumaki or Naruto with a smile on their face. It's all so bleak. Hinata leaned back against the building wall. I don't know if Naruto told you about one of his last missions. He has a possible place to hide out, maybe two, if pushed. I'm thinking of suggesting he does so. But, I don't know if he'll leave. Maybe he just needs a push? Like two girls that love him suggesting it? Karen had not been around long, but even she could tell Hinata and Ino actually liked the boy, loved him really, much more than they let on. Ino she might not know well, but Hinata she could tell would in fact drop everything for the boy. It's possible. I haven't dared bring this up with Ino, but something big is coming. Even my father seems more urgent lately. Looking at the other girl, Hinata nodded. I don't judge you that you're from Odo. I can understand you just want to live a better life. If you're really just looking to have a life away from being used, I'll support you. Maybe together we can change our fate. Karen smiled lightly. I don't have to convince Tayuya much. All she cares about is getting far away from Odo at all cost, if that is what we're going to do. Turning and beginning to walk back towards the market, Hinata nodded. We'll have to work on Ino. I'm not too sure she'd leave without something drastic happening. Karen pulled up to walk beside the other quiet girl. Who else do you believe Naruto might be worried about leaving behind? His team, the ramen stand owners. Maybe our teacher from the academy. Then maybe we can plan? I want you to understand, I can't say I love Naruto, we haven't known him that long. But we do value more than anything to opportunity to build a family, a clan again. We just want our own peace. I can understand. I just want to control my own life. Maybe we can get that. Both girls watching each other and eventually smiling, they began planning as they set about the market and planning dinner. Half a village away, however, was Naruto walking towards the training grounds. Unsealing his sword, he imagined this was probably his most useful therapy at the moment. However, before he could even start on his training, he encountered Team 10. Ino saw him and bounded over, grinning and slugging him in the shoulder. Hey Whiskers, getting some evening work in? Nodding, the boy couldn't help but smile. Yeah. Need some time to think really. Seeing the uncertain look on his face, Ino turned back to her team. Hey, I'm gonna stay behind, I'll catch you tomorrow for our training, yeah? Asuma shrugged as the boys were already mentally miles away at the barbecue restaurant. Sure thing, see you tomorrow. No funny business, yeah? Older man grinning as Ino chucked a senbon at him that missed. The group walked away while Ino joined her crush in returning to the training grounds. So what's up, really? You don't look good. Naruto had wanted to be on his own for a while. But this was probably one of the few people who could understand. He decided to voice some of his worries. Short version? The council is gearing up to screw me over again and I'm tired of it. Jiraiya is trying to convince me to remain peaceful, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Tsunade, but she can't help me anyway. I'm not sure what my next move should be. From there he explained the full situation to her as they walked. He didn't want to include her really, but he had learned that at least some of his peers could be trusted. The adults, well, that was a different matter. Ino had to eventually sit down next to a tree as the boy began a warm-up for training. That's holy shit. Yeah, tell me about it. Setting about demolishing the training ground, the Uzumaki was at a loss. None of this involved explosions, which meant he was at a disadvantage. Ino herself, however, thought it over. She knew Hinata was trying to convince her that following after Naruto would be better than staying here. Except Ino herself had never put up with half of the things her other two closest friends had ever put up with. She was pretty much a princess, pampered and never having to really deal with loss or abuse or any of this. Thinking about it all, however, she was beginning to get the clue that Naruto was edging closer to leaving by the day. Even if the council reversed everything and somehow got everything back for his clan, it still wouldn't be enough. Would she follow him? Was her love for him that powerful? The scary thing for her was that she could almost say yes, and what did that mean? Now that you know about the temple, why not hunt it down and raid it alone before the village gets the chance to? Naruto paused in his training. Why hadn't he thought of that? Jiraiya had told him about the temple. He was sure a little searching would allow him to find it. It would be better to empty it out now as opposed to giving the village the opportunity to take everything. Resealing his sword, Naruto turned to the other blonde. Ino, you're a genius. Oh, I know, but you can praise me more all the same. I'll still love it. Chuckling, the boy nodded. Thank you, Ino, for supporting me. You got it, Whiskers. So, we doing this now or what? Naruto shook his head, a set plan in mind. I'll go tonight after dark. For now, let's train a little bit together and then head back to my place. I'm sure Hinata and Karen will pick up food for all of us. Standing and loosening herself up, Ino nodded. Alright, you're on. She'd need to at least start training that much harder if she did plan on staying by his side. Scene change, a new day, another worn-out Naruto. Team training having taken longer today, Naruto was laying on the ground as Kakashi had already left. Sakura and Sasuke were still trying to motivate themselves to get up and move and currently failing. Needing some cheering up, Naruto raised a hand. Sasuke. I hear the second date is when they usually start putting out. He never saw the foot that sent him flying. Pervert. Blushing and full of rage, Sakura was up and stomping towards the boy. You just can't keep your mouth shut, can you? Sasuke just sighed. If you're gonna kill him, at least wait until I'm gone, no witnesses and all. Naruto, however, was laughing up a storm as he dodged her next flurry of fists. Oh come on, it's not like you've been trying to get a date out of him for forever. Let me have this teasing. I'll tease your face, Baka. A punch finally connecting, the clone popped and left her in a cloud of smoke. Come face your punishment like a man. Maybe next time, you lovebirds. Laughing as he jumped away and left his two friends alone, the boy made good time back towards the village. They really had trained much longer today. The sun was beginning to set. Thinking that dinner out might be a good idea, he got ready to summon some clones in order to go find Karen and Tayuya before he caught a shock of blonde hair much brighter than his own. Ino was out, and was that Hinata and the Uzumakis? Curious. Jumping towards them, Naruto raised a hand. Yo. Ino raised a hand in greeting as well. Hey there, Whiskers. Done with training? The boy falling in line with them. The girls paused as he looked them all over. Nothing out of the ordinary with them. He seemed to shrug and provide an answer after a moment. Yeah, it was a long one today. What's got all of you out today? Hinata actually came to his side, smiling all the way. We were actually coming to find you. Would you like to get dinner? The barbecue place should be able to accommodate all of us. Nodding, Naruto put all thoughts of councils and evil elders out of his mind. Diner with his favorite people and his clan? Hell yeah. Sounds like a perfect night to me. Turning and leading the way, the boy settled in to think on things. He still hadn't come to a decision on what to do. He couldn't accept the council continuing to use them, nor get away with what they had already done. This last week had been a roller coaster and he was ready to get off. Grumbling, the QB decided to speak up. Just leave already, shack up with that snow girl. Twitching only slightly, Naruto answered the ancient demon. But what about Uzushio? Couldn't I spend the time and rebuild it? Why not both? You are supposed to be the greatest container in the nations, or have you forgotten? Rebuild your clan and your village, sire as many children as statistically possible, you little spaz. You have no limits to what you can accomplish. I didn't forget our deal, things have just been shitty. Then make them unshitty, you deranged monkey. But stop wasting time. You could blow this entire village to ash and start over. Lay waste to the nations if you felt like it. Why haven't you, truly? Naruto thought about that one while even on autopilot he walked along with the others who were chatting with each other. Why hadn't he gone off the rails already? Shouldn't there be a peaceful option? Peace is for those who cannot obtain what they want with their own hands. That is not a failing you have. If you truly want a peaceful life, peace for your clan and future spawn, you know what you must do. Has anyone ever told you your bedside manner needs some work? Your mother, often. Now go, your mates are looking at you funny. The QB cutting the link, Naruto grumbled about the girls not being his mates. Ino however poked him in his side. Sorry, what did I miss? Nothing much, we ordered, but you were spacing out. They had chosen another booth towards the back again, nice and private, for what the girls wanted to talk about. Hinata had clued her in about the Oto girls and their motivations. Wanting to get away from the snake seemed to be on everyone's list really. Now the question was, would they stay here? Sorry, just thinking. And he was, about a lot of things. Karen however had seated herself across from him with Tayuya while Hinata and Ino sat on either side of him. Tonight she was going to come clean to him, they didn't have much time after all, and she didn't want him to feel used. Naruto, I have something important to tell you. Oh, what's that? Eyes going wide, the boy couldn't imagine what could be so important. The two girls would begin to look so nervous. Karen however first retrieved a scroll. Unsealing it to reveal a sack, she pushed it over the table for him to take. Huh? Those are all of the scrolls, books, and research materials I could swipe from Orochimaru and Kabuto before I left the Hidden Sound Village. Next to her, Tayuya looked frantic. Wait, you stole stuff? Why didn't you tell me? I wasn't sure how loyal you were or not, I was scared. Still, you stole from Orochimaru. Fighting hard not to scream, the older girl knew going back was probably completely impossible now. Oh well, that pedophile snake could choke on his own dick and rot. Now we have to run. Naruto however was looking into the multitudes of scrolls and books and loose papers that were sitting before him. The girls being from Oto? He could deal with that eventually. Reaching into the bag however and pulling free one book that had caught his attention, for it also had a leaf insignia on it as well, he flipped through it casually but quickly. Not saying a word and feeling bad as the girls across from him began to panic, he confirmed his suspicions and closed the book. Putting it back in the sack and sealing it away back into the scroll Karen had handed him. He twirled it around once before handing it back to her. Here. What? Aren't you upset? Mad? Don't you want those? I'm upset but not at you. We're way past mad however. I do, but they're safe with you. Naruto suddenly had a false calm wash over him. He'd deal with his own emotions later, the girls needed assurance now. Look, you didn't have any obligation to tell me about your past, but you did. That took trust and courage. So I'm not mad at you. Tayuya leaned forward then, all or nothing at this point. Then we have to go. You know we can't stay, the snake will come looking for us. Naruto nodded, why's that? What were you supposed to do here? Karen sighed, We were supposed to convince you to come back. Or failing that. Come back with a piece of you, each. Looking down into her lap, she couldn't say it out loud. Tayuya frowned, she means we were supposed to fuck ya and take your kids back with us. We're nothing but baby factories to everyone at this point. Language Tayuya. Suck my tits. Naruto leaned back into the bench, letting it all wash over him. He knew Orochi would send someone for him eventually. It would have been easier if it had been someone he could blow apart. Using his clan as a shield had been smart, if they were a bit more loyal to him. When are you supposed to go back? It was supposed to be an unlimited time, but they came back and warned us that we only had a few days now. Specifically, we have 1 day left. Tayuya was absently rubbing her left shoulder. So to summarize, you and Karen were here originally to take me to Orochi or become pregnant hopefully and go back. But since you know he's a piece of shit, you've been trying to convince me to keep you here or run away with you. Seeing the girls nod, he focused and ordered one of his house clones to dispel. He'd told them to only dispel on their own if there was violence. Since there hadn't been, they hadn't dispelled. Getting the rush of memories, he nodded that the story matched up with the quiet conversations they had been having together. Okay. Hinata leaned forward now to get his attention. Okay, what, Naruto? Taking a deep and steadying breath, Naruto decided it was time to bite the kunai. We're out. I'm gonna get Karen and Tayuya somewhere safe first. Then I'm going to threaten the council, leave them a few surprises, and clean out anything the Uzumaki has left in this village. After that. Looking at Hinata and then Ino, the boy sighed, after that, I'm leaving too. I won't be used anymore by a government that can't at least respect us. Then I'm coming. Hinata voiced her opinion right away with no hesitation. She had already made clear she didn't have much holding her here. Sure, her team was great and they would miss her, but she had dreamed of being at Naruto's side. She was seizing the chance to make that dream a reality. Ino on the other hand still hadn't been able to come to a conclusion for herself just yet. She wanted to, some part of her truly did. But everything she had ever known was here. Her clan, her friends, her team. Konoha was her home. Could she really give it all up for a boy she had only started to show real interest in within the last half year? Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder, eyes kinda and understanding. You don't have to force yourself, Ino. You know I wouldn't want you to, and I wouldn't ask it of you. Everything you have is here. But if you leave, then the one thing I want most will be. She'd made a promise, she would not lose on the field of love. She loved Naruto. That was enough. Karen, however, was beside herself. So we're doing this? We're sticking together? Naruto nodded as he turned emotional eyes back to his clan. Yup. I have a clan now, and I won't abandon you. He wasn't sure how he would explain this to his team. They had each other now, however, and Kakashi-sensei would probably never forgive him. He had to take control of his life though, and now he was taking responsibility for others. Just as he should have been allowed to do as a chunin. Gotta do something first though. Making a clone, it appeared to the side of their table and saluted him, back in a flash, boss. Disappearing in a flash, everyone but him at the table was looking at him oddly, even getting a few looks from other patrons before they went back to their meals. What was that? Ino was looking at the space where the clone used to be. That wasn't a shunshin, and the clone didn't dispel either. That was me getting a hold of a friend and making plans. Sending a clone via Hiraishin was risky. He wasn't even sure if a clone could complete the journey on its own. This would be a good test either way. Let's eat, then we can plan some more at home. Leaning back as food was delivered, the server reminding the ninja that jutsus were frowned upon inside the space, they all nodded and dug in. Tayuya wanted to eat but still needed a question answered. What about Oto? Naruto grinned. Oh, I've got something for them. You know where they are, right? Karen nodded. There's actually several bases, some with loyalists, most with prisoners and slaves, experiments. Naruto nodded. Could we free those? With some work, sure. That opened up a possibility about their lack of manpower. Yes, he wanted to rebuild Yuzu, but an empty village wasn't much use. He still needed people. People who might join his cause. Okay, we'll add that to the list of things to do. What, rebuilding a clan and a destroyed village isn't enough? Tayuya was vibrating in place. This boy really meant it. He was going to go against his village for them. He was that passionate about this. It was insane. I made a deal. I'm going to be the strongest in the elemental nations. That means dreaming big. He'd have to clue them in on the QB soon. One info dump at a time, he figured. Hinata, however, was smiling as she swayed from side to side. She was getting out of this village and away from her father, hopefully for good. That was all the good news she needed. As they progressed through dinner and made small talk, her mood did not change. Even after finishing and paying, she was still somewhat glowing as they began making their way out on the street. Karen nudged her. Hinata? You seem very happy. I am. I've lived through years of abuse from my father. Getting away from him is possibly the highlight of my year right now. Only thing that would top this would be Naruto coming out and saying he had true feelings for her. Naruto, however, was walking with his hands linked behind his head, twitching again as his clone's memories hit him. So Koyuki was okay and set up a seal in a spare room in her mansion? Good. And apparently there were moves she was going to make as a daimyo as well. Very good. As they rounded a corner and Naruto looked up to his apartment, he mentally ordered his clones to begin sealing up all of their possessions. Feeling the clones agree and start moving, a blur detached from a rooftop facing his apartment and attempted to get in. Why would someone do that? And then there was fire. Apartment going up in a wave of fire and ash, windows all along the street were blown out and even the group below were nearly knocked off their feet from the shockwave. Naruto, however, was moving, four clones bursting into existence. 3 grabbed onto Karen, Tayuya, and Hinata. While the 4th looked at Ino quietly, I'll either knock you out and take you home or you're coming. Which is it? Seeing the other 3 disappear, Ino couldn't believe their shitty luck. Grabbing the real Naruto who was unsealing his sword, he whipped back to her to say something only to have his mouth closed off. Heat, warmth, passion. Something deeply emotional passed between the two, and then it was gone. Ino nodded with tears in her eyes. I can only regret the things I want to do but don't. I'm coming. Jumping into the other clone's arms, they were gone in a fourth flash. Eyes still wide and unblinking, he had to shake himself to get moving. Ino kissed him. Apparently she liked him like he liked her. Flashy. Jumping away and focusing, he was gone in a long-range shunshin. He could already hear sirens, the fire brigade would be on the way, but also Umbu as well. Most if not all of them knew by now he used explosives exclusively. Which meant his own house exploding wouldn't be too much of a surprise. Which also didn't surprise him, someone would blow his house to bits. It was a great cover. Showed him putting people at risk by experimenting within the village walls outside of a training ground. Someone either wanted him dead or wanted support for him to fall off. Over the wall and making for the trees, he knew politics weren't his thing, but even he was getting the idea that someone really didn't want him gaining any support or allies. Too bad he had already done that outside of the village. Making good time to where his clones from last night had scouted, he found the ruins of the Uzumaki temple within minutes. Dropping to the ground, he didn't bother waiting and sealed his sword away again now that he wasn't worried about threats. Making his way inside, he paused as a seal activated on the floor, though after a moment of nothing happening, he continued on his way. It didn't take long to find the center of the temple, where he was met with an altar that held a wall of masks. All ornately done and none looking like they had been touched by the ravages of time. Unrolling a long scroll, he began stripping the masks from the altar and sealing them away one by one. The process took a few minutes, which once complete found Naruto eyeing the black-flamed altar. Concentrating and making clones, he gave them simple instructions. Renew any and all seals you find, I don't want anyone from Konoha getting in here. On it, boss. The dozen clones raced away through the temple, and Naruto was left to turn back to leave. Frowning however as he somehow missed someone following him. Met with the sad eyes of an older woman he did not recognize, though obviously she was an Uzumaki from her red hair that was tied up in two buns, the boy bowed to her. I didn't know the temple had a keeper. The woman bowed to him in return, shaking her head as she stood. I never thought I would see the day this temple would be emptied. To what do we owe the occasion? Naruto sighed, resting on his back leg for the moment. In short? Someone in Konoha is willing to go through a lot to see the Uzumaki wiped out and all of our secrets taken. I've just reconnected with 2 clan members and I plan on protecting them with everything I have. So, you found others to love and protect then? Smiling, the woman walked towards him to shorten the distance between them, seals attached to her hair bun swaying. Yeah, I have people very precious to me I wish to protect. His team would have to understand. Hopefully. What's your name, ma'am? The woman came within arm's reach of him, stopping finally and only having to look down on him only a little. He had been growing recently. I am Mito Uzumaki. Though that's not entirely true. I am a shade of Mito Uzumaki. A portion of myself sealed away to protect this place until the next Uzumaki came along. That seems to be you. He knew that name, she was the first Hokage's wife. That was a trip. Yeah, but I can't stay. I understand. Times change along the ever flow in the river of life after all. You have made shadow clones, correct? Seeing him nod, she waved a hand to her left. Please, make more. I will instruct them on the masks that you have taken. When they have learned what I have to tell, I will go dormant again. Only appearing once more when you return to seal a portion of yourself and bind it to the temple in order to continue our eternal guard. Naruto did as he was asked, making the clones and turning away to leave. Do you think I'm doing the right thing? She had believed in the leaf, possibly even more than he had, than any Uzumaki had. Once. Mito's shade only bid him farewell. My place is not to judge, only to guide. As long as you fight with love in your heart, I believe you will find your way. Walking away from him, he noticed finally that she made no sound as she walked. Getting the last hint that she really wasn't here, he did the same. Making one more clone and handing it the scroll, it left in another flash. He himself left the temple and had one last destination in mind. Scene change. Tsunade could say without fail that she was not a happy woman at the moment. Someone had blown Naruto's apartment to bits and now no one could find him. Jiraiya was out and looking along with Umbu, but still no luck, and as she and Shizune made it to the tower, she made for her office to begin making orders. Giving Shizune orders to find Kakashi, Tsunade was in her office and walking around to her desk within a breath. Danzo was already there, cane tapping on the floor. This is an outrageous occurrence. Do you have some idea of what has happened? The elder council watched her walk around her desk, tapping several seals to summon Umbu to her office. She missed her door locking behind her with a soft blue glow. If I knew I'd be out there, not in here. Looking up, she did not however miss a black-clad blonde leaning against her bookshelf. Naruto? Hey brat, you've got everyone worried to high hell. What's that explosion about? Danzo as well turned with some surprise to see the boy. Why hadn't he sensed him at all? Putting a book he had been fiddling around with away, Naruto groaned as he pushed away from the shelf and walked towards the woman he had convinced to come back and take the reins as Hokage. Wasn't me. Someone else actually torched my place before I got there. And why would someone want to torch your place, Naruto? I don't know. Probably should ask the council. Or Danzo. Eyes meeting the older man's, Danzo knew right away something has changed drastically within the last few days. He hadn't gotten any updates from the book he had given the boy, nor considered attaching a root agent to watch him. Folly now that he considered the decisions. Frowning, she didn't like the look on Naruto's face. What do you mean? Maybe she should have listened to the boy. Explosions solved all their problems. Naruto shrugged again. I've been wondering about a lot of things lately. What happened to the Uzumaki? Why everyone seems so hell-bent on using us or our skills and sweeping their misdeeds under the rug. It made no sense that the council would be so against my promotion. I get it now, however. And now I don't care anymore. Unsealing one of his works, he held the meter-long scroll and up on the floor. 6 black bands surrounded the deep crimson scroll, which, once he knew they saw it and were watching, he allowed it to be summoned away to its hiding location. You know how every time I make a new one of those it gets bigger and stronger? Yeah. It's now somewhere in this village. Just a thought from me, and that's it. Tsunade slammed a hand on her desk, shattering it. What would poses you to threaten the leaf, Naruto? That's treason. There's no coming back from this, no matter how angry you are about the council or your blocked promotion. Naruto however was watching Danzo, someone who was also not moving. We all know it's not about the promotion, don't we? Danzo sighed before turning fully to the boy. Everything I've done has been for the Leaf Village. For my home. I've been around a long time, boy. I've wiped nations off the map for my village. Your threats mean nothing. Naruto, however, began to grin. I'm gonna take a guess. Yuzushio was your work then? Getting no answer beyond a slight tense of the man's jaw, the silence was more than enough. Yeah, it would have either been you or the third. You found out Yuzu had something so important it was worth letting them all die to get it. Looking at the elder, Tsunade herself was beginning to shake. What had she missed while trying to balance all this bullshit recently? She had just started this boy was what got her here. Naruto. Look, there's got to be some mistake. Let's calm down and talk about Naruto however put a finger in his ear and wiggled it, inspecting it for wax after a moment and coming up empty. Yeah, I'd love to, but I'm on a time limit. So here's the deal, I'm gone. You're gonna hear from the daimyo, most likely soon. And then the Uzumaki clan is gonna be making some demands. Grinning, the now obvious to the 2 elder ninja clone held up a middle finger. I'd say it's been fun, but honestly it's been pretty shit. Dispelling, several explosions ripped through the village. Looking out the window, Tsunade didn't know many of the locations, but one she did know was the old home of Kushina and Minato. Turning back to Danzo, the woman balled a fist as the door to her office burst open, several umbu piling inside. What have you done? Danzo shook his head, for once truly innocent. Believe me or not, I did nothing. I did not want to alienate the boy any more than he already was. But someone else, most likely very short-sighted, does not agree with me. We must get to the bottom of this quickly. Oh yeah? And why shouldn't I punch you out the door and have you arrested? Because if we don't get to the bottom of this and hopefully show him the results, we may just find out if he was bluffing or not. I will not bear witness to the fall of the leaf. Tsunade turned to everyone standing around. Go put out the fires. I want investigations and reports on my desk ASAP. Move. Watching all of the gathered ninja leave, she was left with Danzo and Shizune. This isn't over at all. But for the village's sake, we have work to do. Inside, Danzo was furious. Whoever had thrown this wrench in his plans was destined for something much worse than death when he was done with them. Yes. We do. Turning and leaving, the elder had his own ninja to give orders to. Someone's head would roll tonight. Several nations away, Naruto was grinning as he was greeted by a tired but happy Koyuki along with his friends. So, I've got an idea for you about your trains. Already? Yup. Naruto's eyes began to glow. How do you feel about digging underground? Chapter 19. It had been a chaotic night of winding down, explaining the situation and finally crashing wherever they could for the Naruto group. But now with morning upon them and the sun beginning to peek through the windows, Naruto was up first and somewhat ready for a new day. Trudging his way through the halls of the mansion, it took him a bit to find his way around and reach a common area on the second floor. The room was rather massive as far as he was concerned and would have probably fit his entire apartment. A long table on his left coming through the door, several chairs and couches in the center with smaller tables in front of the three longer couches, and to the right was a fireplace and a large open space. That would be perfect for studying seals later on when they had downtime. Looking around the space and finding Koyuki already there, hair messy and wrapped in a robe, he made sure to knock on the door frame to announce his presence. Seeing her jump a little made him feel a little guilty, but he wiped the thought away. He was a ninja after all, walking silent was second nature. Mornin' Koyuki. Mornin' Naruto. The servants will be coming with breakfast soon, don't worry about making anything. Seating herself on a couch, the boy did the same, sitting on a long couch across from her. What got you up so early? Koyuki pointed at several stacks of papers on the table in front of her. Beyond daimyo duties, I am still determined to continue my actress career. That somehow means lots of paperwork I have to keep up with, never mind now this mess with Konoha. Seeing him about to protest, she held up a hand. No, don't worry about it and don't offer to deal with it yourself. This is what I want to do, so just relax and focus on your own plans. Fine fine. Well, I gotta wait for the others to get up before we can start planning. I have a lot I want to get to now that we're out of Konoha. Leaning back with a sigh, the older girl nodded. I can only imagine. Gonna clue me in about what you want to do with my train soon? Yeah, that'll probably come up today. Got some time? For you? All the time in the world. While she had her own designs for the future, she could focus on being a daimyo for now. Soon though. Hearing coughing, they both looked up to see Tayuya and Karen walking through the door, Karen in the lead and having used her sensing ability to find Naruto. Since they had left so quickly, they had been short of clothes. Naruto, however, had his own clothes sealed away on his person and loaned everyone sleepwear. Both girls were in baggy black sweatpants, while Karen was in a white t-shirt that was big on her. Tayuya just opted for a sports bra, less laundry that way. Tayuya was already grinning, morning whiskers. Mornin'. You seen Hinata or Ino yet? Karen nodded as both girls sat together on a smaller couch. They're on the way, I can sense them moving about. Good, I want to get to working on upcoming plans. Tayuya groaned, you're just a regular worker bee, aren't you? Chuckling, the boy thought about his clones. I sure can make a bunch of me. Hearing shuffling, he looked up again to see Hinata using her Byakugan to find them and a tired Ino shuffling after her. More loaned clothes, Ino in sweats and another white t-shirt while Hinata was just in an old hoodie of his he had forgotten about that covered her to her thighs. Was he really that much taller than her already? Both girls mumbling greetings, they dropped down on either side of Naruto, Ino looking ready to fall back asleep. Well, that's everyone. I know it's early, but I want to start planning things out and setting the tone for what we're hoping for. Koyuki nodded. Rebuilding Yuzu is on your list, correct? Yeah. I'm thinking we can head there first, start the rebuilding process now, since it'll probably take the most time. Koyuki thought about it. Where Uzushio used to be was much further south, possibly a prime space for farmland. Cultivating farmland would probably be for the best at first. That yeah, but I want Whirlpool and Spring to be allies, which means we should give something back. So I was thinking, maybe we could become a secret manufacturing hub for you. That caught Koyuki off guard. That's why you want to connect with rail then? It would allow for faster shipping of heavy materials. And people. Karen was following along while she thought quietly. She had an idea herself. If the train is already going to be far enough underground to be traveling under the shallow ocean waters, security would be less of a factor. One of the problems with Yuzu was that in order for ships to reach the village, the seals maintaining the whirlpools had to be redirected or shut down to allow passage. An underground rail means no ships are needed and the whirlpools can be active all the time. Naruto was grinning. That was my idea. But, we'll need to make a stop on the way there. A stop? Karen was leaning forward as she asked her question. Yeah, there's this bridge builder in the land of Wave. Tazuna. He's a good man, been through a lot. My team's first major mission was protecting him and things went sideways fast. I want to see if maybe we could convince him to come on board helping us rebuild the village. Tazuna was a fantastic designer after all. Naruto could provide nearly limitless manpower, but he didn't necessarily know what to do with it. Koyuki liked the idea so far. How about Yuzu become Spring's ninja village? Naruto looked up in surprise, and the daimyo hurried to explain. We still have snow ninja sure, but our numbers are much smaller. But for the public, we'll keep them and foster a small force. However, Yuzu can be our actual main force, kept in the dark and in the shadows. We don't want the rest of the world learning about Yuzushio until it's ready after all. Naruto leaned back with a hand to his chin as he considered that, you would be relying on us for your country's defense. That's a lot of trust, Koyuki. Koyuki shrugged, it's you, I have no reason not to trust you. I know you'll do right by us. We can start the tunnel construction right away as well as a show of good faith. Huh. Pausing and reminding himself that right now he was currently surrounded by people that he could actually trust, he agreed to her idea, okay. So rebuild Yuzu, join the two nations, try to get assistance from Tazuna in Wave. Tayuya held up a hand, you know, as much as clones can speed up the process, you're going to need actual live people. No reason to rebuild a nation with no one living there. Karen chimed in as well, we know the location of several sound bases that hold prisoners, we could free them. Naruto met her gaze, we'll need to give them the choice however. Join Spring or Yuzu, or go about their own devices. I don't want to force anyone to come with us. Tayuya just smirked, trust me, most if not all of them will come with us. You don't know how sound treats people. Plus, there are lots of war-torn places in the nations. Give the people a chance to rebuild in a quiet place where there's no chance of conflict and they'll flock to you. Hinata tapped Naruto on the shoulder, gaining his attention. While I don't know a lot about seals, I do remember what I've seen about the Leaf Village's wall. My team was on the wall reconstruction a few times. There are tons of seals that deal with concealment, chakra negation, and environmental control. We should think about doing the same for the Yuzu Islands. That'd be smart, we could probably build fortress islands as well around the main island as buffers. Karen bounced the idea off of Hinata, who agreed with her. Naruto brought the conversation back to labor, okay, so I'm thinking we don't relax just yet. Full steam ahead. We can pack up and head for Wave, skirting the border between the Land of Fire and Hot Springs for most of the trip. If we get Tazuna to agree to help, I'll place a Hiraishin tag in Wave so we can quickly move back and forth between here and there. We can start the rebuilding process first, while I supplement with clones, and when labor issues start popping up, we can make plans to start raiding Orochimaru. Tayuya didn't want to be anywhere near the snake, but if it meant getting back at the bastard, she was all for it. I'm down. Karen unsealed her bag of Uzumaki scrolls, we'll need to make time to go through these as well. I'd like to learn as well. Naruto nodded, thinking of his own storage scroll with what few Uzumaki records he had been able to obtain. I'll help you out, let's leave that stuff here just in case. This is gonna be our home base for a while. Koyuki waved a hand, stay here as long as you need, there's no shortage of space. Looking back, she saw her staff laying out breakfast. Hey, let's eat, and then you lot can plan or head out. The sun was only a little higher now, but the group was hopeful that something new was coming to fruition before them. Scene change and new day in Konoha meant new problems. Though life moved on and the civilian population had no clue to the issues facing the village, a good portion of the ninja population was in a panic. In the Hokage Tower, Tsunade herself was at her seat at the head of the council chambers, sleep-deprived and angry. Just behind her was a visibly angry Jiraiya who had his arms crossed over his broad chest. Assembled around her were the heads of the ninja clans, along with the civilian side of the council and the elders. Also today in attendance were teams July 8, 10 and Team Guy. Currently there was scattered chatter as Tsunade rubbed her temples. This was not how she wanted to start her day. One of the civilian members, a stout man in his 40s with dark hair, slammed a hand on the table. We knew that boy was going to cause trouble. And here we are, several sites around the village destroyed, an apartment complex nearly burned to the ground, a historical site destroyed, and apparently reports that the Uzumaki temple might have been ransacked. All because we pushed back his promotion. Jiraiya, however, leaned forward to put an end to that argument. Actually, it was someone else who torched Naruto's apartment last night. I only got a flash of a non-leaf headband before the attacker disappeared down into the catacombs. Can only imagine where they are now. Danzo sighs, that labyrinth will be near impossible to search to completion, and there are more than a few exits that leave the village itself. Something I had been pleading with the council to work on putting stronger restrictions on. The man was inside seething. Someone had undone years' worth of work and effort and put the Leaf Village in a precarious position. That would not be allowed to stand for long. Danzo was not above making heads roll, publicly, if needed. It was Tsum who leaned forward now, gaining everyone's attention. While her anger was usually legendary, everyone was put off by the cold rage on her face. So we lose one of our own, a possible future clan head if the boy was allowed to grow up some, and we have no clue where he is? That's unacceptable. She and the rest of the council was unaware of the 2 new Uzumaki that had been found. Tsunade, however, decided it was best to get that knowledge out in the open. Though she wouldn't voice Naruto's threat since she was certain she could make sure it would not come to pass. There's actually a problem there as well. The Uzumaki clan has sought asylum elsewhere, out of fear for their lives. Seeing everyone around her mutter, she pressed on. Apparently some of Naruto's clan mates had come to the village to find him. He actually would have been made a full clan head in light of that discovery if he had been allowed to stay. Watching everyone's reactions, she didn't miss several of the civilian members flinch. Interesting. One woman of the civilian council, dressed in a fine kimono and smelling of roses, raised a hand. Be that as it may, he was a leaf ninja, was he not? Why would he not trust the leaf to protect him? Shouldn't you list him as a missing nin and force him to return? It was the ever-watchful Hayashi that raised his voice, coughing to gain everyone's attention first. The Uzumaki clan is an elder clan within the leaf. Naruto's status as clan head would trump his status as a ninja. As such, if as clan head he decided it was best to leave the leaf for the betterment of his clan, then he was free to do so. All of the clans agreed to such measures at the formation of the leaf. While the clan's new forming villages was for the good of everyone in the long run, sometimes things changed and legal means to leave were needed to avoid war. The first man of the civilian council frowned as he looked back at the assembled team sitting behind the ninja council. Their numbers were off, he noticed. Seems to me the Uzumaki brat took more than just his clan. Seems kidnapping is on his list of misdeeds last night. Thankful the bigoted man opened his mouth, Hayashi continued on. While this was not voiced out loud, as clan heir my daughter was given express permission to pursue a relationship by any means necessary in an effort to foster a future union of our clans. This, however, is a clan affair, not under the supervision of the council. Tsunade sighed. Hinata, however, is still just a leaf nin, even if she is the favored heir to the Hyuga. Clan matters always come first, Lady Hokage, you know that. Did you not travel for years for your own clan duties? He owed this woman no favors, and she had not gained his trust in the slightest yet. He was willing to throw her under the proverbial akimichi, as it were. Though Hayashi was stretching the truth a bit about Hinata still being heir, no one but him and her knew that. Her sensei might have had an inkling about it, but no hard proof. Hiding a smirk, he knew he had leverage. Seeing eyes turning to himself, Inoichi crossed his arms. Don't. The Yamanaka foster strong independent values early on in all of our members. If my daughter, and also a clan heir, has decided taking sides with the Uzumaki is in her best interest, then I support that. Unless I receive a letter of ransom or resignation, I will continue to assume my daughter is a proud kunoichi of the leaf on official clan business. While he had no machinations like the Hyuga, he would do or say whatever necessary to keep Ino out of the line of fire. He was worried sick about her, but he knew she could handle herself. In the stands above where they were waiting most likely to be questioned, the assembled teams talked among themselves. Everyone was questioning Team 7 about Naruto and what might have driven him to leave. Had he been acting different? Were things really so bad for him? Sakura and Sasuke both knew that yes, things had not been great for the boy, but they couldn't exactly come out and say why. How could they? Hey, our friend was actually used as a sacrifice to imprison an ancient demon of immeasurable power since he was a baby, and he's been treated like dirt ever since for it? Yeah, sure. That'd go over well. Kiba was furious that it seemed like Naruto took Hinata away, though he wouldn't say why. Yes, she was his teammate, but there was more there. Shino quietly admitted that he was sure Hinata was the one that convinced Naruto to take her with him. The quiet boy had been watching Hinata a bit more closely than anyone else had realized. Both boys agreed, however, one reluctantly, that if Naruto was protecting them, then they were at least in good hands. They'd all know via a massive explosion somewhere after all if something happened. Through all the talk, Kakashi was quiet, a troubled look on his face. He has his own thoughts on the matter, but he wasn't going to be voicing them, allowing the genin to get it out of their systems. Guy is watching Kakashi, but makes no move to bring it up with Asuma and Kurenai. His rival was thinking hard about something, and it was itching his brain that he recognized the look on the Cyclops' face. He'd corner the other jounin later and ask him about it. For now, the senseis quieted down the group, reminding them that soon the council would be calling them down one by one to be interviewed. They all knew one of their missing friends in some capacity after all. Any information might help future meetings or concerns. All of them settled in for what was looking like a long day. Scene change: 2 weeks after their first night in snow, Naruto and his group were just making their way into Wave. The journey had been relatively easy, keeping to the hot spring side of the border. They had an easy time avoiding patrols from the Leaf. Now however, as the group were putting away their headbands and walking on the road towards a truly massive bridge, Naruto was grinning. It's still crazy to see. Ino was looking up in wonder. This is the bridge you guys helped defend? This builder guy really knows his stuff. You know it. He calls himself a super builder for a reason. Laughing and walking, Naruto pausing as his eyes land on a statue built in the middle of the road. It was Team 7, with a plaque on the bottom facing them. Reading its contents, he went from curious to majorly touched with moments. That old bastard, he'd have words with him when he found him. Hinata however leaned over his shoulder. The great Naruto Bridge, where our country had our hopes and dreams returned to us by a kind but determined man. We thank Team 7 for helping us in our time of need. Turning wide eyes to the boy, she smiled gently at the raw emotion on his face. I'm guessing you didn't know, Naruto? Hell no. Old drunk. Muttering and turning away, the boy walked along while scrubbing his eyes. Ino and Tayuya both remained silent while Karen walked next to Hinata. Seems he has a habit of helping people. Hinata nodded. That's Naruto. As they followed the boy and looked around the bustling town, they made it further and further away from the main roads. Eventually coming across a quiet home tucked away on the outskirts of town. They all watched as Naruto knocked on the door and waited. Door opening and being greeted by a very beautiful dark-haired woman, she was all smiles as she recognized Naruto instantly. Naruto. Welcome back. Come in, who are your friends? Where's your team? Naruto chuckled as he let the girls go in first before following himself. That's a long story I only want to tell once. Is Tazuna here? Tsunami bustled to the living room, instructing everyone to sit while she prepared refreshments. Yes, just a moment. Disappearing into the kitchen, she raised her voice. Father. Naruto has returned. Hearing a thump from upstairs, all of the assembled ninja were soon greeted by the sight of a bespectacled older man who was grinning brightly. Naruto, my boy. Welcome back. Coming forward, he pulled the boy into a hug that was returned easily. Pulling away after a moment, Tsunami coming in and offering everyone tea, the elder looked around and frowned. This isn't the team you were here with last. Do you ninja normally switch teams like this? Lot of cute girls too. Blushing, Naruto shook his head. No, might as well have a seat, a lot has happened since you last saw me. Watching Tazuna and Tsunami doing just that, Naruto began talking about the last half year. From the crazy Chunin exams, the secrets surrounding his clan and his village's council. He left out anything involving strictly ninja matters. He didn't want them into much trouble if Leaf came calling after all. But as he laid out the story and was wrapping up, he could tell both seemed much more angry than he thought they would be. As he finished, Tazuna was already pacing the floor. Those ingrates. To think we've been sending all of our mission requests through them. Sure, they were minor, but we supported them because of you. I've even referred other people. Oh, just they wait. I'll find another village to deal with from here on. Naruto grinned. That's kind of actually why we're here. Seeing Tazuna pause his pacing and look at the boy. You see, I'm here to rebuild Uzushio. Wave is the closest island after all to assemble. I was hoping to gain the help of a really awesome designer and builder that I know. Tazuna flexed an arm with a smile. Well, look no further, I'll help you no matter what. We've been doing well since you got rid of Gato, and I've got the manpower. Naruto shook his head. I'm planning on rebuilding a nation. I think you're going to need a lot more help than you have here. So I'm going to be back and forth, providing lots and lots of clones. Tazuna nodded. It's going to be hard to transport people over water to the other island. He thought hard about that one. Karen finally raised a hand. We actually have a suggestion about that. Seeing the elder turn to her, the girl spread her hands. We're actually tunneling from another nation to Yuzu. We could do the same thing here. Tazuna nodded. Underwater tunnel wouldn't be a bad idea. It's concealable and can be quickly sealed in emergencies. You said you can provide massive amounts of manpower? Naruto nodded. Then you should stay here for a while. We can draw up plans and get to work by tomorrow if we're industrious. The tunnel will be the easy part. The real work starts once we get to the main island of Yuzushio. I'll have to spend some real time designing something. Naruto nodded. There are 2 main islands and about 7 minor islands. I want to use the main island closest to Wave as a more open civilian sector, while the second main island will be more ninja-oriented. Tazuna's mind was already planning and building away, so a civilian city and a ninja fortress. Okay. You got a timeline, kid? Nope. But I plan on bringing in people as soon as we can. I can pay for the construction to start. Naruto unsealed a scroll given to him from Koyuki to give to Tazuna if he agreed, which he tried to give to the old man. Tazuna waved the kid away. Don't you worry about payment. Instead, how about Yuzu accepts Wave as a subordinate state once it's rebuilt? Everyone's eyes went wide. Hinata, who understood the further ramifications of that, stood. Do you know what you'd be doing? Tazuna waved her away as well. Don't you worry your cute head girly, Wave wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this kid. Say, if it makes you feel better, we'll start making all of our mission requests through you starting now. Consider that you paying off your debt for the reconstruction. Tazuna was holding out a hand to the boy, who took a moment but eventually took it and shook firmly. You got a deal, Gramps. Reaching into a pocket and unsealing what he needed, Naruto hands Tazuna 2 Haration tags. These are seals that allow me to travel back and forth between places almost instantly. Place one in a secure room no one will bother, and the other I'd say somewhere safe in the village. Maybe at the bridge, just in case. Tazuna nodded. Got it. Welp, you look like you want to get to it right away, but we have some design work to do first. Motioning to everyone to follow him, Tazuna started leading them to the basement. I want everyone's input. This is going to be your home after all. You should have a say. Tsunami dear? Let Inari know when he gets in I'm working. This might turn into an all-nighter. No worries father, I'll bring dinner down for you all later. Tsunami knew once he got started he wouldn't stop until he either passed out or finished. It was looking to be a busy time again for Wave. She'd go and start warning some of his usual crew to assemble the next morning. Mind set, she was out the door to make some stops and shop for extra food supplies. As the day progressed, Naruto having to make a trip with the older man back to Spring in order for him to get specifications on Spring's trains and their rail requirements, they were soon back in Wave and working through the night with the rest of the group. The initial plan was 2 parts. Not far from the main road coming into Wave, they would excavate a large space to eventually build a train station. Starting there, they would begin digging and building the tunnel to Yuzu. Looking at a map, Tazuna realized the first leg of the journey was less than 50 kilometers. That was, however, a massive amount of resources for a rail line. Never mind the apparently 650-ish kilometers between Yuzu and Spring. Finally, looking at the letter Koyuki sent, Tazuna noted that Spring would be reimbursing any investment of local metals and equipment used for construction, along with massive funds for the project. First part secured, Tazuna then pointed out the second part with Karen's help. The Yuzu Islands were still somewhat protected by both the whirlpools themselves, but also some active seals. That meant once the first half of the tunnel was underway, Naruto and Karen would have to go with Tazuna to the southern island personally to mark the exit site and start digging from there to ensure no seals would interfere. Naruto promised to learn what he could so that he could begin that portion of the project himself. As long as Tazuna did his math correctly, both tunnels would build from each end and meet up underground. Once that was complete, they would begin the civilian city designs and break ground. From there Naruto and the group would begin their next plan, raiding Orochimaru facilities. Because from there they could funnel the people they saved towards the reconstruction project. Tazuna now on board with the plan, everyone turned in for the night as they realized it was possibly going to be the last real day of rest they were going to get. The next day, true to their thoughts, Naruto and Tazuna were the first up and already out of the house. Sun barely rising above the horizon, Tazuna and an assembled group of his best construction team got ready to work. At the end of town opposite of the bridge, they stood looking at a wooded area. However, there was nothing man-made between them and the shoreline from here. Tazuna and his men had already begun to set up work tables and benches, while tools and equipment were being unloaded from wagons. So here's the deal, men, we're going to be clearing a 200 meter by 100 meter square here. Lengthwise, heading toward the shoreline at this angle. As he talked, he pointed at a blueprint attached to a stand. He then motioned to the water. From there the tunnel construction will begin. Blasting will almost exclusively be performed by the resident knucklehead here, though we should be drilling the blast holes ourselves at first until he learns how it works. He will also be supplementing our manual labor with one of his ninja skills. Each of you will be getting a team of blonde ninja, so don't freak out. We should also clear a 50 meter and 50 meter square just to the right of the main space for materials and concrete mixing. Our main focus is the tunnel first, then the station. Got it? Getting a chorus of agreements, Naruto paced away from the group before making a family cross seal. Kage, Bunshin no Jutsu. Smoke filling the morning air, 1,000 clones all stood waiting orders. Tazuna sighed as several of his workers twitched. That might be too many right away, Naruto. One of the nearest Narutos shrugged. The more the merrier, we say. Taking a deep breath, Tazuna turned to his own crew. Well, what are you waiting for? You all know your specialties, let's get to work. Grab some ninja and start giving orders. Turning away, the older man walked back towards the dumbstruck men at the wagon. They were going to need a lot more tools. Already Narutos were in and out of one of the 6 assembled wagons, distributing tools and emptying it completely within moments. Leaning up to the wagon crews, he pointed back to town. Get every shovel, pickage, regular axe, everything you can find. This man is dead set on making progress. Getting salutes, the first wagon was manned and already headed back to town. Turning back to the worksite, Narutos were already being directed. Some were working as logging teams to cut down trees using liberal amounts of wind chakra, while others were working as ground prep teams, digging and turning earth with massive efficiency. One clone was running up to Tazuna already. Do we have a space to dump dirt and rocks? Tazuna shook his head, not thinking they'd even get close to digging anything today. He should have known better. Clear a space next to the other smaller clear zone, use that for dirt dumping and rocks. Make sure to separate them properly, as some of the rock, or most of it, will be needed for the concrete. The clone saluted and ran away. On it, already several trees were falling and being hauled to the first smaller clear zone that was itself being cleared of trees and greenery to be processed into usable wood. This progress was really insane if he thought about it. Only this inconceivable kid could do something like this. Seeing another 2 wagons leaving the site to procure more tools, Tazuna began walking among the crews. They seemed to be working out from the road. Clearing large trees first, then smaller bushes and shrubs, followed lastly by digging and turning the dirt. This process normally took several days of hard work, but these ninja were going to complete this first step in what looked like an hour, maybe less. Deciding to head straight for where he knew the tunnel construction would be, he noticed there still were many more Narutos with nothing to do. Walking up to an idle group of a dozen, he grinned and motioned for them to follow him. Who wants to blow something up? Their eyes lighting up, they followed him without question. Coming to the end of the square he had mapped out mentally, he found the clearing crews already here working on the trees in whatever way they could. Having mentally kept the distance counting in his head, he pointed to his left and his right. One of you go 50 meters that way and 50 meters the other, you're gonna be our markers for now. 2 clones saluted and ran away to do as they were told. Tazuna turned to another one. Where's the actual Naruto? I need him too. One clone saluted and dispelled. Within a moment another Naruto was at his side. Yo, what's up, Tazuna? You still using those crazy explosives? Oh yeah. Do you have a way of directing the blast in specific directions? Or shaping it? Naruto nodded. Sure can. I can even making the tags inject the blast into rock itself to break it apart. What do you need? Perfect. Something uniform we can use over and over. Say, a charge that blasts straight in the direction you point it with the force of like, 1 stick of dynamite. It does need to be able to penetrate bedrock. Naruto nodded again and pulled out a scroll along with sealing ink and a brush. Clones lining up behind him, he began sealing away. Each completed tag was ripped free and handed to a clone who put it on the ground where Tazuna directed them. As around them the space was being cleared as well, their view of the road already free of trees by the time Naruto had finished 20 of the tags, Tazuna asked him to pause. Okay, how much time do you need to set off the tags? It's instant. Okay. Raising his voice, Tazuna looked at all of the clones around them. Clear the area, blasting is going to start. It was still somewhat early, but he hoped the townspeople would understand. Once the area was clear, Tazuna gave the go-ahead to Naruto. Making a single-hand seal, the ground erupted across the space they were in. 2 lines extending 20 meters ahead of them were excavated in an instant, the dirt and rock loosened up and ready to be removed. Tazuna turned to the assembled Narutos. Time to clear out the loose dirt and rock and we'll blast the next section once you're done. Watching as the Narutos listened instantly, many using even just their hands and jackets as they lacked tools, a line of Narutos began moving along the field, taking dirt and rock and depositing it into the other cleared section to be sorted and used later. Nodding, Tazuna made a note that it looked like that cleared the earth down to about 2 meters. Just about perfect to start. We're going to make some good progress here, kid. Naruto nodded and firmed his resolve. His skills may have been originally meant for killing. But if he could turn it into something to build a future? He'd make that trade no problem. Behind him he felt actual chakra and turned to see the rest of his group finally awake. Ah, done sleeping? Tayuya frowned, not all of us need to be up at the crack of dawn. Naruto sighed and scratched his head as Ino and Karen looked at the slowly growing mound of dirt and rock not far away. You okay? Ino had a thought about training her earth affinity, she hadn't gotten the chance before leaving. This would be the perfect time to do so. Actually, I figure you'll need bricks or rock slabs, right? I can make them as a form of training. It'd be something she could do to help as well. Karen nodded, I was thinking the same thing, my earth affinity is weaker but I can still use the time to train. Tazuna nodded and motioned with his hands, can you make uniform bricks about this big? Ino looked and mimed his hands with her own, sure, I can do that. Tazuna pointed at the ever-growing mound, then have at it, I was only planning on using the rock, but if you can change the dirt into strong bricks I'll welcome it. Both girls nodding, they ran off in the company of 2 Naruto clones. Tayuya however had a different idea, and turned to who she hoped was the real Naruto. Hey I hate to be a downer, but I don't have a real use here, and we kinda brainstormed something while we were on the way here. Naruto looked up at her from where he was beginning to draw more seals, seeing that the line they made was about to be cleared up. What's up? Well, I should head back and act as a guard for you-know-who. Just in case the leaf tries something. Hinata chimed in, we all figured at least one of us should be with her at all times. Naruto thought it over, and also considered that Tayuya still wanted to be as far from the leaf and Orochimaru as possible. So he nodded and motioned for a clone to grab the older red head. Now that we have a tag here, we can come and go pretty easy. Let Koyuki know we'll be making progress and we will update her as often as possible. Tayuya nodded as the clone grabbed her shoulder, sure thing, and make sure to come get me when we start raiding the snake bastard. Receiving an agreement, Tayuya and the clone disappeared. Left alone among the Naruto clones, and Naruto himself, Hinata looked over his shoulder as he drew seals. She had been curious about seals herself, but never had given any time to learning them. She had nothing but time now. Can I learn seals as well? Naruto looked up in surprise before nodding, hell yeah, I'll explain as I go. It's like learning a new language really as you get going. Setting about explaining how he made this current exploding tag, he unsealed a basic sealing book and handed it to the girl, glad that someone outside of the clan was interested in the techniques as well. Idly ripping free tags and handing them to clones, he mentally prepared for the days to come. It was going to be slow going at first, but he was ready to start their future. Another warning followed by blowing apart another section of field, a grin stretched across his face. Yeah, this was good. Freedom was good. Omake Konan considered herself a very patient woman. Watching over the real body of Nagato while also making public appearances within Rain and wrangling their ninja and the Akatsuki. Yes, she considered herself very patient. But it was more than that. She also knew that especially in an organization that prided itself on only having the best of the best, she was more than a match for any of her peers. That said, of late she was irked, to say the least. Because she was surrounded by horndog virgins. Haiden and Kakuza didn't count in her mind, one was a religious zealot and the other was only focused on money and nothing else. Women were the last thing either of those two thought of, even if Haiden liked the female form well enough. His words. Sasori was more puppet than man and she had enough toys, thank you very much. Kisame might be interesting, he was tall, fit and handsome in a vicious carnivore sort of way. But apparently he liked overflowing melons to tidy apples. Unfortunate, but some just couldn't understand the real justice of petite women. Not that she knew. She was well equipped, and if anyone said otherwise, they were a liar and a coward. She wasn't upset that Daidara apparently spanked it to her. No, as a powerful kunoichi that still prided herself not just on her strength and skill, but she was still somewhat vain. Having others admire her was ego-boosting. So knowing some of the world's most powerful ninja lusted after her? That was a heady mix of ego boost she couldn't get anywhere else. And Itachi apparently did as well? Oh yes, she secretly jumped for joy for that particular heartthrob. There was however one small, ever so important detail that was upsetting her. You would think these powerful ninja, men that could send armies running for their lives, would actually come forward and ask her out on a date at least once. Sure, Deidara, she could understand. He had no experience with women at all. She was willing to teach, willing to lead him by the hand into the joys of manhood. But no. He'd rather enjoy his picture and lust from afar. Weak. And what about Itachi? Sure, she could go for the cold and mysterious, but surely he didn't expect her to ask him out instead? He had to have some experience with women by now, so surely he could catch the hint. The locked gazes, an idle show of skin, and yet nothing. Was he ace? Gay? She needed answers, damn it. Next to her, Nagato just sighed. He wouldn't bring up the fact that through his chakra he could feel the various emotions running through the woman. Again met full force with her mix of annoyance, lust, happiness, and anger. One day he'd have to either take the woman out to get laid or maybe take a different body and do it himself. She was his friend and didn't necessarily feel that way about her, but he'd make sure a friend was cared for. It was what friends were for. Chapter 20. 2 weeks, that was the amount of time that Naruto and his little group had spent in waves so far. Day in and day out of blasting, digging, and sculpting out their now underwater tunnel. Stepping down from the smaller mine cart they used to transport actual people and materials, Tazuna looked around. He knew the process would be sped up with Naruto adding massive amounts of clones to the campaign, but just how much progress they had made was startling. Deep within the tunnel to check progress, Tazuna had to strain his eyes a bit as the dim mining lights weren't the strongest things in the world. But here the Narutos were, now almost completely working on their own as they excavated dirt and rock and piled it off to the side. No longer needing to take it all the way back to the main site, Karen was working her nature chakra to full effect, building bricks from the material at a steady pace while his own more experienced crew directed Naruto's in where to place them. Along with them, Ino was focused on the walls and the ceiling, injecting her chakra into the earth and hardening the bedrock further into a dense reinforced concrete. Once a section of wall was completed, Naruto would supervise while Hinata was drawing seals every 50 meters. Apparently once he informed Naruto that air needed to be pumped through the tunnel, they came up with a seal that would do just that, moving air from the surface and through the tunnel. Standing in the middle of the narrowed-down tunnel, now only 50 meters wide though 15 meters tall, Tazuna figured they were setting a great pace and Naruto could be trusted to do this on his own now. Looking around and finding one idle, he walked up to the mismatched-eyed boy and tapped his shoulder. You the real one? The clone shook its head. You need the boss? Seeing Tazuna nod, the clone dispersed, having not been doing anything at the moment. Left alone for a few seconds, the Naruto with Hinata waved at her and turned to look around the tunnel. Finding Tazuna, the boy bounded his way. What's up, Tazuna? The old man motioned back to where he had come from. Actually, I think this would be a good place to split up. You're going to have to start the tunnel on the Yuzu side now. You remember how I showed you to determine your direction and location while tunneling, right? Naruto raised a hand and tilted it back and forth. Yeah, mostly. Karen paid a lot of attention too, so I'm sure she can back me up if needed. Tazuna sighed. You've got to be confident about this, otherwise the tunnel ends will drift apart and we'll never meet. Well, Karen has this ability to sense where people are, so we can use that in the worst case to correct our course. Tazuna considered that before nodding. There was a backup at least. Okay. Well, it's about noon now. I'll get a boat ready to go for in the morning and you can head out. Sound good? Naruto nodded. Sure thing, though with us split up your progress on this side will slow down. Yeah, but we're actually already halfway there. My crews will be more focused now on delicate work, like lighting, emergency footpaths, and laying down gravel for the full-sized rails to come. Okay, so we'll keep it up for today, and tomorrow we'll head for the southern Yuzu Island. Getting a thumbs up from Tazuna, the older man walked around to talk with some of the older non-ninja crew members. Naruto himself returned to Hinata's side, watching as she walked along the wall to the next section needing a wind seal. "How are you holding up, Hinata?" Hinata turned to Naruto, jacket wrapped around her waist from the humid heat in the tunnel. "I'm okay, Naruto." "What did Tazuna want?" "Let us know, we're pretty much halfway, and we should head to Yuzu tomorrow to start tunnel construction from that end." Mentally Naruto was excited. They would finally be setting foot on his ancestral home. Hinata could see the joy on the boy's face. "That's exciting news. Are we stopping here to go now?" Shaking his head, the boy looked out over the sea of working clones. "Nah. We should make as much progress as we can before we leave. Once we do, it's all up to Tazuna and his guys." Seeing a tired Ino walk his way, she sat down against the wall with a sigh. "Worn out, Ino? You have no idea. My reserves are improving like crazy because of this, but it's still crazy work." Looking up at him, she grinned brightly. "I'll be good in a bit, just need to take a break." Naruto nodded, his own reserves actually feeling the burn a bit this last week. As the tunnel lengthened, he had more room for all of his clones to actually get work done. Which meant he had been making more than he probably should have. Thankfully, this was the type of thing that didn't mentally overload him, simple work able to be discarded easily. Even if he had a weird craving to start sculpting rock, weird. Soon Karen joined the four, body spent. "I'm guessing you're low on chakra too, Ino?" Ino nodded. "Oh yeah, how are you?" "Nearly out, gonna take a long break." Naruto pushed away from the wall. "I'll see about getting us lunch then, we still have a long day ahead of us." Seeing Hinata pull out a Hiraishin tag and wrap it around her wrist, the boy grinned and teleported away back to Tazuna's house and hopefully food. Ino stretched out with a moan. "Can't believe we're actually doing it." Karen nodded. "Naruto really is something, isn't he?" Her voice was wistful, and both other girls picked up on that. Hinata smiled. "He's always been special, but now he has something even more important than himself to work for." All three of the girls sitting in silence for a minute, the pale-eyed girl sat down between the other two. "How do you think things are in the Leaf?" Ino snorted. "Besides shitting bricks? I bet my team is enjoying the peace and quiet without me there to nag them to death. My mom and dad are probably worried about me, and I should write a letter to them soon and at least let them know I'm okay." Pausing and looking over at her friend, Ino nudged the other girl. "Any regrets?" Hinata shook her head quickly. "I'll miss Kurenai-sensei for sure. But I'm sure my team understands why I left. I worry a bit for my little sister, but father favored her heavily, so I'm not too worried about her being treated badly. I might write a letter to my team as well, to at least ease their minds." Popping back into existence in front of them within a few minutes, Naruto was all smiles as he carried several plates of food held in his arms with chakra. "Hope you're all hungry." Distributing food and sitting down himself, the small group would have a quick bite to eat before getting back to work. It was odd for them to use their skills for something other than ninja combat. It was almost comparable to D-rank missions, something they had all at one point or another complained as useless non-ninja work. Now however they were seeing it in a different light. This could be some of the most valuable work they'd ever do. Settling themselves in for the rest of the evening, it was going to be a long day. It was the next day that found the group up at the crack of dawn. Still half asleep in some cases, excited and energized in others, the group was aboard a chartered boat and making their way to Yuzu. Naruto and Karen had spent all night poring over the Uzumaki notes and books again in order to better understand the whirlpools and the environmental seals that held them in place. And today, nearly vibrating with energy, they both felt that they could get them to where they needed to go. Ino had passed back out once on board, but Hinata was trying to wake herself up as she watched the excited pair. Their boat caption warned them it wouldn't be a long trip, maybe half an hour at their current speed. The two Uzumaki sitting at the bow of the boat and just barely holding back from jumping off and running over the ocean instead, Hinata moved to wake Ino back up. True to the captain's words, the fishing boat soon caught sight of the rocky terrain of the Yuzu shoreline. Getting their first view and holding in the well of emotions it brought forward, Karen noted that indeed, trying to bring ships between the various whirlpools and the rocky outcroppings was most likely suicide. However, something was bothering her as she thought about how the mix of artificial and natural whirlpools were going. Turning to the other Uzumaki with her, Karen voiced her concern. "All of the whirlpools are online. Shouldn't at least some of them be deactivated from the invasion?" Naruto shrugged. "They might have come from a different direction, we'll have to scout and see. But we can't turn them off unless we're on land." Naruto thought about that before nodding and unsealing his sword. Turning back to the captain watching them from the wheelhouse, Naruto raised his voice. "About how far are we from shore you think?" The captain looked out over the water. this is about as close as I can get. We're still about half a mile out, I think. Naruto nodded, thanks. Motioning for the others to step away from him, he made sure the seal inscribed at the base of this weapon was still there before asking mental forgiveness for what he was about to do. Judging the distance himself a bit more, Naruto spun once, before hurling the weapon with all his might. Sword shooting off towards the island like a javelin, Naruto gathered the girls up and made sure they were all holding onto him at some point before waiting a full minute just in case. Thanks for the lift, Captain. In a flash, they were gone. On a rocky beach, the Kubikuribocho landed with a loud crash and a plume of dust. Not a second later, a flash of light dumped 4 teens on the beach with it. Everyone landing in a heap, Naruto and Karen were the first up, stars in their eyes as they realized they were finally on the southern Yuzu Island. They had made it to Yuzu. Jumping and hugging each other, the pair did restrain themselves from running ahead. Pulling his sword from the earth and sealing it away, the group made their way up the rocks and came upon a forest barrier. Taking to the trees with Naruto in the lead, the group made their way inward. They needed a spot relatively clear and a little more inland than directly on the beach itself. Not even a full minute of hopping trees, they were dumped out into a wide and open field. The space was wide open fields as far as they could see. Overgrown grasses and weeds had taken over what looked like the ruins of a town or village that had once sat here. The display froze Karen and Naruto in place for a while, neither bringing themselves to move. Hinata and Ino tried coming forward to try and comfort the two. This was once where their ancestors lived, taken down early by the greed of other villages. Naruto shook himself free first, turning back to gauge the rising sun. We're here to bring all of this back and make sure it never happens again. Unsealing tools and equipment borrowed from Tazuna to gauge the direction he needed to start digging, Karen too wiped away tears that had begun to form and turned to help him. You're right, we can grab Tayuya and mourn later. When we've secured our future. Watching the Uzumaki shelve their grief for the moment, Hinata and Ino set about their own work while mentally making sure they would help their friends talk through their feelings later. Hinata unsealed their camping equipment, ready to set up their tents and cooking equipment. They could flash back and between the islands now that they had made it, but energy-wise it was better to just stay full-time. At least that was how Naruto put it. Ino was assisting Hinata with the work, using her earth chakra to help level the space for better sleeping. Naruto grinned as he dialed in their direction and started spamming clones in the hundreds. Time to get to work, boys. Yash. Naruto however paused as the clones started clearing the area and cordoning off a square space much the same as the one in Wave. He made another 100 and gave them specific orders. You lot go scout the island and see if you can make your way to any of the other islands as well. Stay in groups of 4, place Haration tags if you do make it to other islands, got it? On it, boss. The 100 clones were gone and dashing away across the field. Karen sighed and looked out at the field of clones who were already beginning to blast away into the ground and move dirt and rocks away. Some beginning, huh? Naruto nodded and clapped the girl on her shoulder. It'll all be worth it. Just watch. Hinata calls out to the pair, we should have enough food and seals to last us a few weeks, though fishing would probably help. Naruto turned away from Karen and walked towards Hinata to figure out supplies. Karen herself watched all the activity and decided he was right. This was worth it. Plus being on an island away from the rest of the world was a good way to hide for a while. Scene change, Tsunade sighed, the new daily life within the leaf just wasn't the same to her without the little brat here. Maybe she could sneak off and go hunt him down? Join him on whatever crazy quest he was on? Nah. She had a duty here, a duty he himself had fought to make sure she could do, and she was going to do it. For him if no one else. Now if he asked her to leave? Shizen was walking into her office and breaking her chain of thought. A sealed scroll in her hand, the assistant handed it to the Hokage before bowing and returning to her desk quietly. Seemed the younger woman was just as upset still. Made sense. Moving to unseal the scroll and seeing the daimyo's seal, a ball of lead formed in her gut. Just what she needed to start her day. Tsunade Senju, current Hokage of the Leaf Village. I write you personally as it has come to my attention that a clan has left the village with grievances. This is unprecedented. No clan has uprooted and left the village since its founding by my recall. Truly the office of the Hokage has failed somewhere if even a founding clan like the Uzumaki have grown tired and decided to leave. And there are talks that the clan was stolen from? Assets illegally seized and sold? Normally I would not consider that news as even worth considering, but now thinking about how quickly the Leaf Village recovered from both the end of the Third Great War and then again after the disaster of the QB attack. Well, those funds had to come from somewhere, and somehow I get the feeling that the office of the Hokage did not have what was necessary. These are major accusations that will require inquisition. You are on notice, Senju. The daimyo will be in touch again soon. Putting down the scroll with a heavy sigh, she needed to hope that someone could give her some good news. Attention from the daimyo was never a good thing long term. Flaring her chakra and waiting, her window was being opened by a rundown Jiraiya within minutes. Hey Tsunade, what do you need? Any idea who was after Naruto? Or where he went? No and no. Jiraiya sat down in the window and looked out over the village. The burnt wreck of Naruto's apartment sticking out like a sore thumb. Interviewing all of the rookie teams gave us nothing to go on. But my gut is telling me his team might know where he went. I'd say give them to a Yamanaka. Or even TNI. Tsunade shook her head, no. I won't do that to his team. If they are protecting him, they're doing the right thing at the moment, but if they're hiding something, who says they don't know who tried to kill him as well? Glaring at the man who cut her off, she waited until he could tell he had in fact crossed a line. I get you're upset, your godson is missing. But I want to know who tried to kill him on the double. That's your job until I say otherwise. We would know if something happened to him after all. Half of the elemental nations would probably end up a crater. Frowning but nodding, Jiraiya couldn't say anything against that. You're right. I'll check in with the toads periodically, in case they hear something from him. I'll hunt down leads in the meantime. Wanting to lighten the mood a little and maybe motivate the pervert too, Tsunade leaned back a little. You find out who was after him, and maybe you and I can finally have that drink, huh? Chuckling, Jiraiya saluted the older woman, giving an old man hope, huh? You really are worried yourself, aren't you? Not waiting for a response, the man was gone and leaping across the village. Tsunade sighed, Hermit is really on edge and it's more than just his godson missing. But what about? Shizun leaned back through the door, curious about something. Tsunade, I've been wondering something. Tsunade motioned for her to come in, pulling a secret bottle of sake out and pouring a cup. Sure, what is it? Shizun sighed but decided not to argue about the drinking right now. All of this seems to stem from the council overstepping themselves. How and why are you letting them? Tsunade thought about how to answer that without giving away too many secrets. Hiruzen had been sitting on a mountain of skeletons so high, she still hadn't gotten around to figuring them all out. The things he'd done, authorized, or allowed to happen. Some of it made her sick. After the war, our ranks were thin and coffers empty. Rebuilding and training ninja takes money, and the clans pitched in, but the Hokage couldn't just come out and say it wasn't enough. So instead, he made concessions with the civilian merchants. He would give them more influence on the council and some minor roles involving ninja, and in turn they would provide financial backing and civilian numbers of ninja candidates. This was a backroom sort of deal, the type that no one could find out about at the time. Now it doesn't matter so much, because we can see in hindsight what happened. But why not scale it back when it's proving to become an issue? Because it's kind of an open secret, with possible repercussions to our village's soft power. Soft power? Sure. We have soft power and physical. Physical is our military might, our ninja, skills, weapons. That's physical might. Soft power is political. It's what lets us go to the negotiating table and get what we want all without sacrificing lives. And right now, the issue is if we want to nix the council, it would need to be because of something on the level of treason against the daimyo himself. And second issue, our funding. The office of the Hokage has been doing its best to fill the hole that it found itself in once we tapped the civilians for military funding, and with the latest funding we were getting from nations like Wave and Spring it was improving. Now though, for some reason, those mission requests have dried up. Sighing heavily, the Hokage leaned back in her chair while looking up at the ceiling. Wave might make sense. We only had that contract because of Team 7. Spring as well, but the news of what happened shouldn't have reached them yet, and running escort missions for the metal shipments was good money. It would solve a lot of problems if we could find the assassin and find out who hired them then, correct? Tsunade nodded, exactly. If we could prove the civilians did more than just hinder a clan head, instead trying to kill him, that would have the daimyo stepping in and seizing their assets for us. Sounds like a complicated mess. Telling me. Taking a deep breath, the elder ninja sighed and refocused back on her work. Something about the way Jiraiya was acting still bothered her, but there wasn't much she could do except keep him focused. She hoped that maybe Naruto himself would send word soon. She missed the little brat. Scene change, Naruto and the girls were all grinning at each other. Dirty, sweaty, and more than a little excited, they look around anxiously at the smaller group of clones that were around them. The excitement was because after a week and a half of frenzied activity, they could hear voices on the other side of the wall. Not having electricity available on their end and having to resort to torches soaked in toad oil, Naruto now stood before the wall holding out a hand. An explosion would probably be a bad idea, Naruto. Ino piped up from where she was resting with an equally tired Karen. Dense chakra or not, working almost non-stop morning to night would wear anyone down. Naruto nodded while forming a Rasengan, something a little more controlled then. Taking the spinning and grinding technique, he used it to drill away at the wall. Crumbling away a large section, they were met with brighter light and the smiling faces of Tazuna and his crew. Shaving away more of the wall to give everyone space, they were met with cheers. Well, brat, when the others said they heard your blasting getting closer, I almost didn't believe them. I figured we had a few more days. Naruto gave a tired groan and stretched out his back, probably should have been, but we were excited. Looking over the boy's shoulder and seeing the ragged group, Tazuna nodded. Welp, you held up your end. Did you prepare a space for us to get started on the other end? Naruto turned to look down the darker space. Sure did. Just like on your end, a 100 by 200 meter space, cleared and flattened. I, also clearing out most of the rubble and marked a space I'd like a monument to the dead built. Handing over a scroll with his idea, Tazuna nodded solemnly and pocketed the scroll. Well, with that, I think we all deserve a bit of a break. Tazuna motioned to waiting rail cars. So we're at the next phase, then after a break? Yeah, we're gonna relax for a few days, and then figure out how to start sending people your way. Did you finish up the entrance cover? Currently it's still a little bare, but it'll be a fully enclosed warehouse space we're going to claim as an aid station for a while. Don't worry about anyone finding the entrance yet. Then we're out. Till later, old man. Hinata and Ino came forward together. Thank you, for everything, Tazuna. Karen wobbled her way to hug Naruto for support. Yes, thank you. It means everything. Tazuna rubbed the back of his head while around him, his workers all chuckled. Aw shucks, this old man is just glad he can give back to you kids. Now we'll have something ready for refugees by the time you start sending them here, on my honor. We'll hold you to that, Tazuna. Naruto grinned and after the girls grabbed him, flashed away. One of his men walked up to Tazuna. So what's the plan, boss? Tazuna motioned to the hold and the other end of the tunnel. Current goal is to finish taking down this wall and extend the rail cars to the other side. Put out the word, quietly. We want refugees and people looking to settle somewhere peaceful. I can have Tsunami round up some of the locals to help put together the aid station. For us, I have the initial designs of the civilian island already so we can start on mapping and construction. I want to surprise the kid when he gets back with his first wave of rescues. Can we all agree on that? Getting loud agreements, they got back to work. Naruto and his group were dumped back in spring. All tired, hungry, and ready for a few days of real rest. I say we take a few days off at least. Ino and Karen stood and stretched. That sounds wonderful. I don't want to even think of dirt for ever. Hinata giggled, to imagine you're usually such a pretty girl as well. Ino groaned, I know. I'll be scrubbing myself for months after this. Ignoring all of the girls talking, Naruto shook his head and headed to his room for a change of clothes. Feeling like for once he had the time, he decided the outdoor baths were calling his name. It was still early in the evening, he could relax and then come back for dinner. Waving to a staff member and letting them know they were back for a few days, he finally made it to his room and gathered up a change of clothes. Not long later and outside walking the short distance to the outdoor bath attached to the manor, Naruto was soon washed up, clean, and lowering himself into the hot waters of the bath. Clothes stored away inside the changing area, he relaxed with his towel on his head. Nothing beat this relaxation. Reaching one hand up to rub his shoulder, much bulkier than a month ago, he decided that some time off would be good. Hearing the door cover move aside behind him, he wondered who would be joining him today. There weren't all that many men in the manor outside of the staff. Leaning his head back and being met with a towel-clad Koyuki, the boy had to look away in a hurry to stifle a nosebleed. KKK Koyuki. What are you doing? Oh, I told the staff the baths were a private affair tonight. You've been working hard this last month and deserve some peace. So why are you here? He was ready to jump away to prevent getting pounded. He wasn't a pervert. Really. As the daimyo of spring, I thought it would be a good idea to have a chat and bond with the future Yuzukage. We're adults here after all, what's a little skinship? Giggling however on the inside, the slightly older girl smiled as she eased into the hot waters, keeping a respectable distance from the boy. He was pretty easy on the eyes, all his ninja training having toned him up nicely. I'm not going to talk you out of this, huh? Snow women are very strong-willed, Naruto, you'd best remember that. Isn't this the land of spring now? Semantics, shut up and have a drink with me. Motioning to a tray with a bottle of sake and several smaller cups, she poured him one and then herself another, handing his to him. Let this be the beginning of a great and long-lasting partnership. Looking down at the liquor, remembering something Kakashi had told him about being an adult the second they put on the headband. He sighed and nodded, firming his resolve to a long future ahead. Tapping their cups together, both drank lightly and smiled. Naruto had to admit at least, it was a nice and had a light taste, something fruity. Huh. No wonder Tsunade drank so much. So Naruto, perhaps we can discuss something else while we are here. Relaxing back completely and making sure the clips holding her hair up were tight and ignoring that moving her arms up allowed her towel to slip just slightly, she smirked. What are your plans now? Looking away from creamy flesh, the boy thought about that one. Well, at least for a few days, we need to rest up and relax. But then we have been thinking it was time to start hitting Orochimaru and his prisons. Might I make another suggestion? Huh, sure, of course. While you're considering that, perhaps quietly search smaller towns and border villages. Small wars and skirmishes are still popping up all over the nations. It's, perhaps a little underhanded, but you could offer people being displaced the option of joining you. Naruto rolled his head this way and that as he thought about it, watching the sky go from blue to orange as the sun set. Still his favorite color. Yeah, that would be a great idea. Though getting normal people to follow me might be a problem. Koyuki shook her head and she took another tentative sip of her drink. Something tells me you won't have a problem with that at all. You have a presence about you. I have faith you will succeed. Naruto chuckled, thanks for the confidence. Of course. Edging a little closer to the boy, she wondered if she could steer the conversation a little more to more fun things. Shot down before plans could even start to roll, the flap was pushed aside and a competent-looking Ino is standing there in a towel with a somewhat shy Hinata was behind her. Pointing at the daimyo, Ino grinned, aha. Caught red-handed. Sighing, Koyuki closed her eyes and looked the picture of perfect serenity. I have no clue what you mean. Both girls came forward on Naruto's other side at again a respectable, somewhat, distance away from him. And just why aren't you on the girl's side? Koyuki just smiled, why aren't you? We're all Leaf Ninja here, it's customary for us to bath together after long hard days. Hinata sighed, you could make it a little more believable than that, Ino. Naruto just sighed and continued to look at the sky. Do I get a say in this? Koyuki just leaned forward and refilled his cup. I doubt you're getting away from this one, Naruto. Great. Ino walked out deeper into the bath with a smirk. You know, most guys would literally kill to be in the bath with a bunch of pretty girls. Point, you're all very beautiful, but I'd rather not get pounded for being a pervert. Eyes up, he missed everyone else blushing at the compliment. Hinata however tried to ease his mind, you won't be, we're all covered, and we're intruding on you after all. But we wanted to celebrate. We completed the first stage of our plan. That's a big thing. Naruto lifted his cup, you aren't wrong there. Woo. Now that he had a chance to relax, the mental fatigue was beginning to catch up with him. No, wait, Tayuya, come on, let's just let it go. It'll be fine. Bump that, you all got to hang out together for weeks and I've been stuck here. I want a party too. Another movement of the flap and out came Karen and Tayuya. Karen is holding a very large tray loaded with food, while Tayuya had the same idea as Koyuki, a large bottle of sake held high. Now it's gonna be a party. Everyone laughing and the girls getting into the spirit of things. Naruto wonders just how his quiet hope of a peaceful bath was ruined so wonderfully. Somehow his pervert of a sensei planned this. He didn't know how yet, but he'd get Pervy Sage back for this somehow. Taking another sip of the fruity beverage, he started to feel a pleasant vibration cover his body. Tayuya was attempting to wrestle the Yamanaka in the center of the bath to the cheers and giggles of Karen and Hinata. Oh, Whiskers, what's the plan for what we do next? Gonna start hitting snake bastards' lairs? Naruto nodded. Yeah, Koyuki suggested that while we're hitting his bases, we can stop in on any war-torn parts of the nations and offer asylum to anyone we come across. Tayuya nodded as she had Ino in a headlock and was smushing the girl into her boob. Well, if I can make a suggestion, let's start with his southern base. Oh, why's that? Naruto missed the show, eyes watching the colors in the sky slowly change. The south base is a prison. Mostly kids and teens. There won't be a major guard presence there and would make a great first stop. Plus, if we hit it fast enough, he wouldn't even know it's been hit for potentially weeks. She remembered her own time in the shitty place, she wouldn't mind blowing it all to hell. Her lapse in concentration allowed Ino to break free and dunk her, someone's towel going flying. Naruto didn't have a preference for where they started. Just so long as they did. Okay, but we'll have to figure out how to get everyone out of there quietly. I can Hiration with people and with my clones if I give them extra chakra. But that's still some work. Inside his mind the Kyuubi grumbled, this is a worthy cause, I wouldn't be opposed to lending my chakra as aid. Oh? What brings this out? There was silence, but Naruto waited as the link was still open. Someone much wiser than you reminded me once long ago about what was important in life. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, shitty monkey. Just accept the gift. Link being cut, Naruto decided he would have a sit down and talk with the beast someday soon. But that was a good backup, just in case. There shouldn't be that many people there. If your clones can transport us via Hiration, then you should be able to manage it in one trip, maybe two. Karen spoke up as she laughed at Ino putting Tayuya in an arm lock. The younger but more physically fit girl having a strength advantage. Koyuki spoke up and rose her cup in the air, no ninja or work talk. Tonight we're going to relax and party. The girls all cheering, Naruto enjoyed the purples, now joining the orange of the sky. He didn't question why a towel just flew across his vision, no he was going to relax and keep his eyes to himself. In the morning maybe he'd take a real long walk into town, alone, away from crazy ninja girls. Chapter 21. Naruto sighed as he looked out over the ocean at dawn. Their vacation was only meant to be 2 days, but had turned into a full week of lazing about or partying. Only now, finally deciding to get up and get back to work, the group found themselves on a boat borrowed from a man in Wave and navigating to where Karen and Tayuya remembered the Southern Sound base was located. Hinata was tagging along for Jujutsu backup, while Ino was pulling Koyuki duty. This early in the morning, however, Naruto was alone at the bow while Tayuya and Karen navigated their way. On the horizon, he could just make out an island with jagged rocks pointed at the sky like demonic fingers. That was most likely their target. Hinata quietly made her way next to him, staring out over the sea in silence while the sky transitioned from dark purple to a mix of orange, yellow, and blue. Have you thought up a plan? Much like her, the question was quiet. Naruto nodded. Tayuya says this early in the morning no guards will be outside. So I'm going to spam clones and have them transform and infiltrate the base. Think you can scout with your eyes and give me an idea of how many enemies we have to worry about? Of course. Good, then I'll neutralize them and they will set about freeing prisoners and giving them their options. Karen says there are records here she'll want to raid, might have information on other bases or prisoner movements. Sounds like this should be quick, with any luck. Here Naruto turned to her and grinned, if it's luck, then we've got this in the bag. Watching the sea breeze tussle her hair as she smiled in return, Naruto had the urge to reach out and hold her hand. So he did. Calmly take her one of her hands into his own, his smile became softer. Thank you, for being here through all of this. Blush blooming on her face, Hinata could do nothing but nod. He was holding her hand, he was touching her. If they didn't have a mission to complete, she could pass out happy right now. Oh, of course, Naruto. I meant it, I want to be by your side. That she wanted to be so much more went without saying. Her dreams lately had been much more spicy in nature. Well, you're welcome to be here, for as long as you want. Behind them and in the wheelhouse, Karen and Tayuya watched quietly. Karen with a smile, while the look on Tayuya's face was something more pensive. Karen noticed this and hip-checked her friend. Maybe you could just talk to him? I don't do mushy. Start with something he can help you with, like the seal. I thought maybe now's not the time. You're making excuses. Turning to walk out and join the others, Karen turned red eyes towards Tayuya. He's not Orochimaru, or Kabuto. Leaving, the shorter girl jumped and latched onto Naruto's back with a laugh. Naruto and Hinata joined her, sharing a joke while their hands parted. Tayuya watched the scene in silence while she considered her own options. She hadn't considered she could have the seal removed. This lasting mark that showed Orochimaru owned her. If that could be removed, then what? Shaking her head and noticing they were within spitting distance of the shore, she cut the engine and let the boat coast its way towards beaching itself on the shoreline. Naruto turned back towards the other Uzumaki, so I'm gonna infiltrate with clones and take down whoever stands in the way. Quietly. I don't want them panicking and killing prisoners. He didn't want everyone thinking he only had explosives to use after all. Karen nodded. There's an entrance just past that outcropping ahead, and another on the other side of the island under a false rock. Hinata had her Byakugan active, eyes scanning back and forth rapidly. I see 14 guards, they don't seem like ninja but they're all armed. I don't see any ninja at all actually. But there are a lot of prisoners, like really a lot. It didn't make much sense here, why have so many prisoners, but so few guards? That was asking for a prison break. There were what looked like a couple thousand people below their feet. Tayuya frowned, they must have raided somewhere recently, there were no more than a couple hundred prisoners here last time I was through here. Naruto shrugged and made his seal, doesn't matter, we're freeing them. Making clones a dozen at a time to keep the chakra flares low, the clones would salute and transform into some type of insect before flying off. Karen grabbed Tayuya and hopped out of the boat to the rocky beach. We can get to the other entrance, it's closer to the warden's office where records would be stored. Naruto nodded and made a dozen clones to specifically aid them. Within a breath, they were gone and dashing to the other side of the small island. Hinata watched quietly as the Narutos found the entrance and made their way inside. The facility is massive, Naruto, but I don't see any major traps or seals in place. Looks like the only thing protecting it was that no one knew it was here. So close to Wave, it's amazing no one figured it out. But I guess with Wave not having ninja and Konoha having priorities elsewhere, it makes sense. Naruto made another brace of clones before instructing them not to transform, just head in. By now, the previous clones will have started to take down guards. Hinata nodded, watching as several guards were either taken down silently with kunai or in one case where a guard was getting handy with a female prisoner, that particular Naruto clone brutally twisted his neck. All but one of the guards is down for good. Naruto nodded and motioned for them to go. Let's get inside then, is there any large gathering space? Hinata nodded, yes. Once you get towards the center, the entire base opens up into a gigantic open room. We can gather people there for extraction. Naruto nodded and formed a single clone with new directions and had it dispel. The clones were to give the prisoners their options for how they wanted to leave, keeping it vague in case people wanted to go their own way. From there he and Hinata dashed inside, Hinata directing him through torch-lit hallways and down stairwells. They passed a few sound guard corpses before they opened out into the dark and dank space that she had mentioned. So far down and deep below the waterline, it probably could have fit Konoha's Hokage tower, but now the room was filling with people who were being directed by Naruto clones. Sighing at the ragged state of everyone he could see, their work was cut out for them it seemed. Making 2 clones, while Hinata continued to scan for threats, he turned to them. You go to Koyuki, let her know we hopefully have incoming refugees. Pointing at one that saluted and flashed away, then turned to the other, you head to Wave, let Tsunami and Tazuna know the same. On it, boss. It too flashed away. With a grimace Naruto then began to make hundreds of clones at a time, spacing them out because he had to make sure they had the extra chakra to make a Hiraishin jump with a passenger. Hey Kyubi, might need a hand here. There were easily a few thousand people here, guess Hinata was right about there being a lot of prisoners. That was way more than expected and they weren't going to fit on the little fishing boat they had borrowed. Grumbling but sending out a tendril of chakra, the Kyubi complied, I told you little monkey, for this you need not ask. It's Naruto you grump, get it right. The Kyubi considered that. The boy had been true to his word, and was doing his best to keep his actions honorable. Perhaps. I have a name as well, Kurama. Address me as such. Naruto. Sure thing, Kurama. Not hiding his surprise at all, Naruto reminded himself that he needed to have a sit-down with the Kaino, Kurama one day soon. Continuing to make clones who would pair off with a prisoner and explain their options to them, he could already see some of them flashing away. Hinata finally pointed down towards the middle of the space where a clone was holding a bleeding man on the ground. The guard was missing his legs below the knee and raging at the clone. Nodding at each other, they both jumped over the rail and descended to see what the issue was. Naruto came forward first as they hit the ground, drawing the attention of everyone in the immediate area. What's the deal? I thought I gave orders to neutralize all of them. The clone turned back with a frown on its face. This here is the warden. He's been a little extra when some of the prisoners. Thought you might want to give him a special send-off. Clone, tossing a new seal on the man's back, he groaned as his chakra was locked away and he was paralyzed. Naruto himself, however, got the full force of this clone's memories. And none of it was pretty. What the prisoners described about this guy made Naruto want to drag a rusty kunai through his gut. Someone, a woman who was holding torn rags around her frame, stepped forward. Malnourished and thin, hair graying in some spots, Naruto gave her his attention. Is it true? You're giving us options to go wherever we wish? Naruto shrugged while looking around at the sea of faces watching him. There were no ninja here. Just civilians that had been caught in the crossfire, most likely of one conflict or another. This was the ninja world right now. More worried about themselves than the lives they trampled on. He wanted to change it, even if he could only do so this small bit at a time. He amplified his voice with a little wind chakra and made sure to make eye contact with the woman and many of the others around her. I can't take you just anywhere, but I am giving you choices. There's a place to the north, you'll be far away from wars and conflicts. It's quiet, most likely you'll be farming or something, but it's peaceful. Or I can take you somewhere I'm rebuilding, a chance at a new home we can build together. Something for us, the people this world tramples on. Conflict may come, but I vow to protect each and every one of you who decides to stay. The last thing I can do is drop you off somewhere in Hai no Kuni near a village or town and you can find your own way from there. But the choice is yours, I won't pressure any of you. Scanning his gaze across everyone gathered, he smiled slightly as several bowed before speaking to clones and being flashed away. Below him, the man struggled to look at him, groaning in pain. He was very fat, bald, and if Naruto had to guess, hadn't had to struggle for much in a long time. You think you can get away with this? Naruto nodded, kinda already have buddy. Watching the space empty out quickly after making his announcement, he made a single clone and unsealed AV2. Handing the bomb scroll over to the clone, the doppelganger saluted and walked to the middle of the space to wait. Naruto sighed, remember, 1 hour. Got it boss, 1 hour. Naruto just sighed as Hinata tapped his shoulder. Karen and Tayuya are done and returning to the surface. Okay, that's our plan too. Seeing the last of the prisoners being whisked away, Naruto turned to the warden. Taking out a kunai, he considered the downed man for a moment. Going to torture me? Some man of justice you are. Flipping the kunai to the clone just in case, Naruto shook his head. You aren't worth the time, old man. Jumping away with Hinata, they left the lone guard to his fate. As Naruto and Hinata returned to the surface to board the boat, they helped the others push it back off the beach and out to sea. They had another stop to make. Far away to the north, Koyuki and Sandayu were watching over villagers and staff helping process and aid prisoners that had been brought to them by Naruto's clones. Sandayu turned to his daimyo. Seems Naruto was quick to get started on helping people. Koyuki nodded. He's made it clear that he won't compromise. Rebuilding Uzushio, saving and improving people's lives, taking the fight to evil like Orochimaru. He won't stop. Sandayu sighed as he could see an interesting gleam in Koyuki's face. Whether she knew it or not, Naruto was rubbing off on the woman. Sandayu hoped nothing too crazy influenced her. They both turned as Ino jogged towards them from down the hall while accompanied by a snow nin. A clipboard in her hand. Final count seems to be 732 people dropped off with us. Most are willing to work wherever we can find them work. But all of them are going to need time to recover and rebuild their strength. Koyuki nodded. Okay, let's follow the plan. Start settling everyone in the aid station for now and bring food and supplies in from the nearby towns. Spread the word among the population as well. Ino, please assist where you can. We might need extra temporary shelters. Ino saluted with a grin. Will do. Koyuki watched the pair turn and jog away before turning back to the window to watch the activity below. This was just the beginning, they'd learn and adapt quickly to streamline the process. She wondered idly if the letters she sent reached their destination yet. Back south and with another Naruto clone, it was talking with Tsunami while she stood before a large warehouse. Behind them through an open barn-style door, they could hear the din of people milling about. Tsunami sighed as she assured the clone, again, that everything would be okay. We've been preparing since you left. We have enough food and medical supplies for everyone. The clone, however, still looked stressed. There's like 1,500 people we dropped off Tsunami. That's like, way too much. Tsunami again waved him off. Father has been having fun ever since you've returned, he's taking all of this as a challenge. Plus Olive Wave is happy to give back to you and pitch in. We're your people now, use us as you need to. Also, I believe I'm supposed to receive a Horatian seal from you? Yeah. Handing a paper seal over to Tsunami, who slipped it into her kimono, the clone looked uncertain. That's a lot to think about. Tsunami just smiled and bowed to Naruto, while behind her someone began closing the door. It's the mantle of a ruler. Heavy are the robes, as they say. Turning away from the young man, Tsunami issued orders to several people as they closed the main doors to the warehouse. The clone was left alone to think. I don't know how boss is going to feel about that. Dispelling, he was glad it wasn't his job, technically. Inside, Tsunami looked over the veritable sea of people before her. More able-bodied prisoners were helping out where they could. There were several hundred families that were able to be completely reunited in all of this, but there were even more singles and orphans with nowhere to go. Her father had mentioned that if there were those willing and able to work that they could be sent to Yuzu right away, and as she threaded through the massive tents and blankets and supply crates, she reached the back of the space where a fake wall was situated. Another set of smaller barn doors were open, where rail cars were sitting and waiting. Someone she recognized from her father's work crew was sitting and waiting. Hey, Tsunami. He was waving to her. Hello, I don't think anyone will be making the trip today. They should be allowed to rest for now, regain their strength. You never know, give some of those fathers or young sons some motivation and they might just try to get straight to work. Knowing the foolishness of men, Tsunami nodded to that. Be that as it may, no one should leave here today from this group. How go efforts over there? Tazuna made me keep my mouth shut, it's a surprise. Tsunami sighed but turned away. Fine. I'll keep things moving on this end. Have those chakra sensors acted up at all? Seeing him shake his head in the negative, Tsunami turned away with a smile. She had work to do. Back on their borrowed boat and steaming full speed away from the island for the last hour, Karen had everyone's attention while Tayuya piloted them along. She had been poring over the records and notes that they had pilfered from the warden's office. So apparently the old sound base in Rice has been converted into a prisoner storage location as well. Orochimaru has relocated to a different location and several other bases have seen lower security levels. Naruto grinned, must have felt the pain after the failed invasion. So does that mean Rice is next on the list? Karen nodded, it'd be the smart bet, though we'd have to travel through Hot Spring Country again to avoid Fire Country. Hinata was leaning against the wall. It would give time for Spring and Wave to process and move the refugees. Tayuya was grinning as they motored along. Sounds like another sound base is in sight then. Naruto himself nodded slowly, certain clone memories coming to him in spurts. Wave was already working through refugees when he first arrived. Something told him Tazuna was behind that. They only told him there would be a surprise for him when they returned to Yuzu eventually. Well, let's get going, the island is about to disappear and we don't want to get caught in the blast. Karen looked up, how big can it be? Naruto's grin became feral, very, the shudder that went down everyone's spine was ominous. Back on said island, the Naruto clone had planted the scroll into the earth pointing upward while the warden had been spitting and cursing him out for almost the full hour now. The clone had gotten bored, which was never a good sign. The warden, however, was losing his patience, not having to put up with such treatment since Orochimaru had installed him here. You're going to rot for this kid. The longer you sit here, the bigger chance Orochimaru comes for your head. By now, someone is on their way, and you and your little whores are going to be captured, tortured, and then killed. Well, maybe. Watching the girls get turned into baby factories while you watch is an option too. Legs giving an agonizing twinge of pain, he almost missed the boy turning mismatched eyes to regard him like an insect. You know. I never understood the whole bad guy has to monologue his plant thing. But right now, I kinda get it. Beginning to pace around the scroll, he flipped the kunai given to him through the air, before catching it again. You're exactly what's wrong with this world. The fuck do you mean? What do you know? I know enough. You trample over those you deem lesser than you, obtain and hoard power to lord it over others. You don't care about people or their lives, only your own. If someone has something you want, you go straight to torturing or killing them to take it. You don't consider families destroyed, lives lost, people erased from history. Why should we care? The strong take from the weak, that's how things work. The strong should protect the weak. The strong should be helping the weak become strong. We can build bonds between each other, if we just take the time to listen for once. Listen? Listen. What bleeding heart crap is that? Look at you. Did you talk to us before coming in here and killing us? Of course not. You have some strength, and so you came in and took what you wanted. I'm sure you've tasted all those girls as well. Screaming as the kunai lodged in his hand and locked it to the ground, the clone's eyes were glowing. Yeah, best to keep them out of your mouth, Tubby. Though yeah, we came in to destroy everything you've built. In fact. Placing chakra into the scroll to begin its detonation, the clone walked over to kneel down and stare the man in the eyes. Before I draw my last breath, I'm going to tear down everything man like you have built and hoard. I will slaughter you to the last, I will bathe in your blood if it means even just one more child does not have to suffer. That one more family can stay whole. That no more people will know what it means to lose everything because someone with a god complex decided they wanted to take whatever they could. You're mad. You'd be going against the world. An orange glow was building up behind the clone, casting shadows on his face while his blue and purple eyes shined brightly. I never once said I was fully sane. Let the world come again. They tore us down once, I'd like to see them try it a second time. I'll blow them all away in beautiful cleansing fire. There was a fraction of a second of the scroll unrolling, and then there was fire and light. Far away, Naruto and the girls have to close their eyes as there is an intense flash of light from the island. Then came heat and sound as the explosion rocked the ocean waters and a shock wave buffeted them even at this distance. Finally able to look back, they all stared in awe at the mushroom cloud that was climbing into the sky. Naruto himself just sighed because of course his clone decided to get melodramatic at the end. It had to be Kurama's chakra doing something. Maybe subconsciously you're a drama queen. Denied. Stage 1 is accepting the truth. Feeling the beast chuckle and fade away, Naruto turned to the others. Hinata had seen his work before, so wasn't too surprised. Karen and Tayuya, however, were looking with something between awe and fear. That was amazing. How the hell did you do that? Can you make more? Can you show me how to do that? Tayuya was of course all game to blow things apart. Karen, however, was quiet. Is that what becoming a seal master allows you to be capable of? No wonder the rest of the world was scared of the Uzumaki. Naruto nodded. Yeah, that was a bomb based on seals and heavy metals. I have a few more now that all do different things. But that one does the most damage without leaving a lasting effect on the environment. I think. He still needed to do more research on that last part. Hinata turned to Naruto and places a hand on his arm. It's probably best then that we're going north now, that's a lot of attention. Oh yeah, gotta stay ahead of those fuckers. Tayuya raised an eyebrow. Those fuckers? Oh, right. I forgot I never explained my other problem. Taking a deep breath, he decided he might as well get that over with. Well, on top of my shitty village upbringing, they used me as a sacrifice to seal away one of the tailed beasts. The Kyuubi, to be specific. Goes by Kurama actually. Wait. You have a demon sealed in you? Tayuya's eyes were wide. Yup, been with me all my life. Karen, however, was curious. Sue, if you know its name, does that mean you talk? Even when I don't want to. You need me. You're getting very chatty. You try to stay sane locked up in darkness, with no one to talk to. I'm trying to make the best of a shitty deal. I guess that's a good point. Karen, however, was thinking about it. Well, you've shown you aren't crazy, and you don't seem like a demon. So it doesn't bug me. Though I'm curious about why you need to stay away from someone. Yeah, so there's this group calling themselves Akatsuki that want to steal the demon from my gut. Don't know why yet. Tayuya just turned back to piloting while thinking about her own issue. Well, it's an super powerful demon, right? So it can't be anything good. He was so trusting with them. He didn't have to tell them about this. Just like she didn't have to tell him about the seal. But. Right. Feelings. You're super good with seals, right? Naruto heard the tone change in Tayuya while the others just looked at him. Yeah, pretty good. Not a master yet, but I think I'll get there. Ushering up whatever courage she had, Tayuya reached back with one hand and pulled her hair over one shoulder. Pulling down the back of her shirt slightly, she exposed her curse seal. Orochimaru's work. It's called the Curse Seal, lets me get a power-up that makes me crazy strong. Only it doesn't last super long and it's hard on the body. It also lets him subjugate and use me if he's nearby. Think you can remove it? Naruto walked around the table where Karen had spread the reports and papers from the prison out and started to poke and inspect the seal. I'd have to really take a look at it, make a secondary copy so I can play around with it. But I might be able to keep the good stuff and get rid of the Orochimaru crap. I can't promise a time, but yeah, I'll add it to the list of things I'll do. It's not a rush or anything. I'd appreciate it though, Whiskers. Heh, sure, we'll get to work on it while we travel to Rice. Hinata looked at Karen, who was watching the two with a smile on her face. Her own feelings undisturbed, she wondered briefly if she should pull Karen aside later and see where she sat on the Naruto train. Hinata was finding she wasn't as possessive as she once believed. Her original hope of enacting the Clan Restoration Act now moot, she still knew there was a possibility of Naruto having multiple wives. She just wanted to make sure they were all able to get along together at this point. Scene change, far away and unaware of what was happening offshore, Tsunade had several visitors to her office today. Kurenai, Kakashi, Asuma, and Inoichi all stood and waited on her while she unsealed a scroll addressed to her with an unknown sender. Checked and double-checked for strange seals and traps, it had eventually been deemed safe and read the letter attached to it for herself. Dumping letters out onto her desk, she handed them out to the appropriate people. Inoichi received 2, Kakashi received 2, while Kurenai and Asuma received 1 each. These are letters from our missing ninja. Naruto, Hinata, and Ino are safe, but have yet to decide when they will return. They've sent letters to you all in order to update you and hopefully assuage any fears you have. Go ahead and rear them now or later, I'll be here if you have questions. I'll answer what I can for now. Not that she herself had much information. Other than they were alive and their letters were delivered through an anonymous ninja courier service. Which usually meant a daimyo was involved. The obvious choice was Spring. However, the fired daimyo had also taken quick interest, which meant they could be with him. Inoichi, Asuma, and Kurenai all bowed and turned to leave, trusting that their questions will be answered in the letters provided. Kakashi however stayed behind, a troubled look on his face. Lord Hokage, do we know who tried to kill Naruto? Tsunade shook her head with a heavy sigh, unfortunately no. We still have no leads. Seeing the sensei seem even more downtrodden, she doesn't get the chance to reassure him as he turns and walks out of her office. He was taking this hard, she realized. Hopefully he didn't feel like he failed another comrade, she'd have to talk with him alone soon to make sure. Outside, Kakashi pulled free the letter addressed to him, pocketing the letter addressed to Sasuke and Sakura. Maybe Naruto could give him some good news. Hey sensei. I didn't get the chance to say goodbye or anything, and I'm sorry about that. But well. I'm alive. Still blowing things up and taking care of Hinata and Ino. I can't tell you what I'm really planning, but it's gonna be amazing once it's done, and I hope I can show you one day. It's thanks to you after all, that my life has made such a great turnaround. You are an amazing sensei, the best really, even if you are kinda a pervert. But I'll make sure to check in from time to time and who knows. Maybe we'll meet again soon in the future. Oh, make sure to tease Sasuke and Sakura for me, but they can't have any little Uchihas yet until I get back. Sasuke can't start that party without me. Do not trust Danzo or Jiraiya. I can't explain now, but please. Take care of yourself. Oh, and check up on the Ikarakus for me, will ya? Let M know I'm alive and miss M. Letter ending, Kakashi read it again before lighting it on fire. He didn't know why Naruto didn't trust his godfather, but if he felt the need to warn him, then he would listen. Jumping off to catch up with his students since both were most likely having dinner at said ramen stand, maybe tonight would be a good night for teasing. Heart a little lighter, the Jonin sensei of Team 7 was gone in a swirl of leaves. On another road, Kurenai was reading her own letter, a sad smile on her face as she read what her student had decided for herself. I'm sorry sensei for leaving without saying anything. But, I wasn't happy in the village anymore. If I didn't have you or Naruto there, I probably wouldn't have stayed there much longer. Or more likely, well, you'd be getting a different kind of letter by now. I'm happy out here, safe. I feel like we're doing something important, something real. I can't believe there was a time I would have complained about D-rank missions, and yet now. Well, now I understand. Please tell Kiba and Shino that I am okay and that I do miss them. Try to help them understand that I needed to follow my own happiness, and it was nothing against them. They were like big brothers to me, and I appreciated that. I needed it. I hope one day we can meet again on good terms. Though maybe Kiba can tune it down and be a little nicer to girls. I'm sure his sister is going to end up breaking a sandal on his head one day if he keeps it up. I'm going to continue towards my goal. I wanted to be by Naruto's side, and I am. Now I have to work and make sure I'm strong enough to actually deserve to be here. I'll be working hard every day, just like you taught me. I hope I can make you proud when we meet again. Well, since Kurenai had nothing else to do, she decided that maybe today would be a good day to catch up with Asuma. Or maybe Anko, her old friend, had been in an odd mood lately as well. Inoichi himself just sighed as he finished reading the letter from his daughter, stuck between pride and sorrow. He wanted his daughter to pursue what she wanted in life, yes, but he missed his little princess. He had thought he had a few years at least before he might have to give her up forever. He could only hope things would be settled enough soon so that she could come home and visit them. Opening the door to his home and spotting his wife, he smiled sadly and handed the letter over to her. Hey Dad, hey Mom. I guess this is the part where I apologize for leaving, huh? I didn't think it all the way through, you know? But Naruto has this crazy amazing plan to do some real good, and I want to be here. Honestly, I'm so far glad that I came. We're about to start something that's going to change a lot of people's lives. I wish you could be here. Naruto just puts off this aura that he can accomplish anything and everything. I just get swept up in it. It feels good too, to know that being a ninja means I can actually help people. That I'm not just a tool. I don't know who tried to kill Naruto, but they messed up badly. He's never been so motivated, it seems. I'm good though, I promise. And I'm going to train and get super strong, and when you next see me, I hope we can hug it out and I can tell you everything I've been doing. I hope it'll make you proud of me. I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye, and I'm sorry if I worried you too much. But I'm in good hands. Mama, I think you'd like Naruto, he's really sweet. Caring. Motivated. Sorry Daddy, I know you don't want to read about my feelings with boys, but Naruto is different. I hope you see that. I'll write as often as I can even if we can't receive letters from you. I'm happy and I'm growing strong. I hope you're doing okay. Love you both. Hugging her husband and crying, the Yamanakas couldn't truly fault any of the kids. Inoichi had an idea of just how hard things were for Naruto and knew Ino was never going to leave him alone once she learned about his story. Comforting his wife, he considered what they would do next. There wasn't much other than to wait. And keep Ino's room clean for when, not if, she and her apparent boyfriend came to visit. Scene change in somewhere cold and very dark, Danzo sat behind a large desk and contemplated where everything went wrong. The fools on the council getting greedy he expected, had even planned for. But they didn't hire the assassin. Someone else had done that, but he couldn't track down who. It was vexing to him that he couldn't sniff the culprit out. He had everything planned out. He would get close to the boy. Use the listening seals on the fake book in order to learn what motivated him, what worried him. Gain information so he could get into the boy's mind and become the confidant that Hiruzen was. But someone went too far. One explosion and all his plans were moot. Years of backroom deals and underhanded tactics to usurp control by gaining control of one of the largest power sources in the nation. Down the drain. He doubted Naruto would fall for Danzo trying to get on his good side now. Most likely everyone with a leaf headband would be a no-go for the boy. Which meant he would need to switch to plan B. Making a hand motion, a root ninja appeared bowing before him. Yes, sire? Bring me that boy. At once. Like a shadow, the ninja was gone and Danzo had a moment to think. The Uzumaki was still a child, a young boy at that. He could use other options. With another motion, a second root ninja fell in place before him. A teenage dark-haired girl. Yes, sire? I have a mission for you. Seduction and compliance. Do you understand? Target, sire? The Uzumaki. That foolish Hokage thinks he is with the fire daimyo. I know better. You will head to Spring Country. Disguise yourself as an orphan while you search. Your first phase is to make contact and hand him this scroll. Reaching into the desk, Danzo retrieved a real Uzumaki scroll. Handing it to the ninja, Danzo kept his face carefully neutral. You will explain that your clan were once retainers of the Uzumaki, and you wish to continue the bond. Use everything you have, body included, towards this task. I would rather not lose this asset just yet. How shall I contact you, my lord? You will not. I will contact you through other agents, understood? Yes, my lord. Is there a time limit to this mission just in case? Danzo shook his head, placing one hand on his desk to tap a finger idly. None. Find him quickly, bind yourself to him. Bear children for him if needed, even if we can't have him, children of an Uzumaki would be invaluable. What is my name for this mission, sire? Names always had meaning, didn't they? The boy wasn't all that bright, so he could have a little fun, Kyoheim. Understood, my lord. I Kyoheim will hunt down, seduce, and bend to my will, the Uzumaki. Good, go. The ninja departed without a sound and Danzo relaxed only slightly, glad that he always had some other angle to use. Looking up and hearing footsteps, he was rewarded with another dark-haired and very pale boy who bowed before him. My lord? Sai, I have a mission for you. There were a lot of things made Terumi regretting as herself and her people retook control of Kirigakure and begun the long task of rebuilding. A long life of battle and hardship, the loss of Kiri citizen lives, the lack of dating while on her campaign. But no more. Now the new Mizukage and the ability to implement changes to how their village would be run from now on, she was determined to make time for herself. She was only 27, still plenty of time to find someone who could appreciate her. Sure, she would appreciate that maybe they were stronger than her, but a woman didn't need to be picky. Humming to herself and beginning to doodle on a report about livestock numbers, she missed her assistant Sai. Next to her, Ao frowned as his leader started to drift off from doing her paperwork. As was happening more often as of late, she got distracted if she had to sit in one place for long periods of time. Perhaps, Lady Kage, a change of scenery would be good? Change of scenery? That snapped her out of her daydream about a tall dashing blonde whisking her away in his arms. Was Ao saying there was something wrong with her looks? She considered herself quite the bombshell. Tall, well-proportioned, long flowing hair, why would she change anything? Why she was voted in the top 5 most beautiful kunoichi in the latest Ninja Monthly. Just under Tsunade herself. What do you mean by that? Tone sharp, she did not want to have to toss the man out the window so early in the day. I just mean, May, that maybe something new might be good? You've been stuck in this office all morning. New? New? So even he considered her old now? Oh, the balls on this man. Ao, call me old again, and I'll kill you, painfully. Feeling the man freeze up, she returned dutifully to her paperwork. She wasn't old, she had time to sort her love life out. Besides, she had gotten wind that this new S-rank ninja, the Orange Maelstrom, was on the prowl. She wondered if he was single. Chapter 22. From the southern beaches of Fire Country to now the border of Hot Spring, Naruto and his current group were making good time north. They liked using Hot Spring to travel simply because the entire country was so relaxed, mostly reliant on tourism than anything else. Tonight, however, the group was setting up camp deep within the forest where they wouldn't be bothered. While Karen and Hinata set about putting the finishing touches on a campfire dinner, Naruto had rolled out a sleeping mat in an open space. Okay, Tayuya, I need to get at your seal. Shirt off. Blushing for once as she wasn't used to him being that forward, her eyes darted to the suddenly curious Karen and Hinata. Wha? Not paying attention as he was turned away and unsealing scrolls and ink, he repeated himself, I need access to your back, so please, shirt off and lay down on your front. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Doing as he asked, she stripped off her tunic and sports bra before laying down on the mat. Blushing and turning to watch the fire, she refused to make eye contact with either of the other girls who slowly went back to their own self-imposed tasks. Naruto, however, had a scroll in hand as he walked over and sat on her lower back, chakra coating his fingers as he pulled her hair aside. He began to poke and prod at her seal. Let's see, looks like I can expand it. Here. Poking again, the seal bled out and expanded over her back, several spots thickening over her spine where the associated chakra gates would be. Moving down a bit to give himself more room to work, his eyes widened at the expanse of seals. Oh, this. Wow. Hate Orochimaru he would, but this was decent work. Taking the blank scroll he had, he drew a quick seal and placed the scroll on her back. An exact copy of her seal appeared on the scroll and he put it away for safekeeping for later. He might need it for reference just in case, so he wouldn't have to make her strip every time he needed to see or do something. Turning his full attention to her, he began to trace out sections of the seal. So what's the word, Whiskers? It was taking a lot just for her to sit still, never mind being quiet through all of this. He wasn't uncomfortable on her hips, but she was very aware that he was in fact there. Much closer than she had allowed anyone else to be to her without it being a mission. We've got a few sections here that seem to actively help you and will probably work to keep. But there's some I'm definitely going to have to get rid of. A paralysis section, a suicide section, and there's something else between those two. It stores something but I can't figure out what yet. Puzzling it and tracing a finger around it, a light purple miasma arced up. He took his finger away and the chakra went back into the seal. Curious and worrying. There's another section here that's meant to pull something in and convert it, probably a chakra of some sort, but I can't figure it out. He saw something like that in a scroll before. Environmental chakra, no. It had something to do with nature. He'd have to start slow and work up to everything else. I can get rid of the paralysis and suicide sections, no problem. Everything else will take some time. Getting ready with some ink and a brush, he leans to the side. This part is going to sting a bit. If it gets rid of something that can be used to kill me, then I'm all for it. I can take it. Seeing the boy nod, she grit her teeth and waiting. Drawing seals around the sections around her right upper back and right lower back, ignoring the middle for now, it took him about 10 minutes of careful work before he was done. Taking the brush and ink away, he inspected his work carefully. Satisfied that everything was as it should be, he placed his hands on her right shoulder. Gonna start the first part, be ready. Seeing the girl nod, he first activated his work surrounding the suicide section of the seal. His new addition lit up with blue light, encircling the work on her back, before severing it from the main seal. From there that section dissolved into nothing, and soon, with a sizzle that set the girl trembling, the first section was gone. Alright, next section is coming up. Do you need a second? I'm good, keep going. Okay. Activating the second seal, moving his hands to her lower back, the process was much the same. Blue light shimmered before with a light flash, the seal was gone in another sizzle. All done for now. I need to research the other parts before I try to do anything with them. Pulling a healing cream from a pouch, made by Hinata herself, he began to work it into the older girl's back while he shrunk the seal back down to its normal size. He noted idly that one of the tomo was missing now. Karen looked over to see Naruto giving Tayuya a back rub, much to what looked like the older girl's delight. Smiling and feeling like teasing, she raised her voice, "Hey Naruto, how's your new seat?" Huh, what's that? Tuning back into the world around him, having gotten into his work and associated aftercare, he was genuinely confused about what Karen meant. Tayuya gets it however, trying to will the blush away from her face as she tries to hold back a satisfied moan from his strong hands working the healing cream into her back. It felt really, really good. Seeing Hinata and Karen giggle however, she buried her face into the mat. She'd get them back later. She'd enjoy this right now. Naruto sighs and finishes up his work. So Karen wanted to tease him and Tayuya, huh? Okay, two could play at this game. Wiping his hand on a rag and standing, he walked over to stand over Karen herself. Eyes wide as he leaned down to her to where she was sitting, he leaned her up further with a hand on her chin. You know, if you wanted some attention and a back rub, all you had to do is ask. Seeing the girl try to turn herself into a tomato, she started to stutter and flared her hands about. Naruto eventually leaned away with a grin. Be nice then. When I'm working, I'm not focused on anything else. So no chance of me being a pervert. Turning, he looked at the still hiding Tayuya. Sorry if you were uncomfortable, Tayuya. Tayuya however, just raised a hand and gave him a thumbs up. I'm good, don't worry. She wouldn't mention that she couldn't look him in the face, but she'd get Karen back later, for sure. Happy that he didn't freak out one of his family members, he set about cleaning up his supplies before opening several other scrolls. Tonight he'd set about researching what he could. There was no way he was going to leave this half done. Besides, this might be the last time for a while that he would have the time to do any research. Tayuya and Karen estimated that they should be in rice by tomorrow. Behind him, Tayuya redressed, while Hinata made sure she was in fact okay. Saying that she was okay, the older girl came over to inspect their latest dinner. A decent night's rest, due to liberal use of clones as sentries, all 4 members of the group were up and moving through the forest again by dawn. Tayuya seemed to be in good mood and no ill effects from his work on her seal, which was a plus. He would continue to monitor her for a few days though, just in case. As the forest around them begins to thin out, Tayuya and Karen take the lead as they skirt the edges of now fire country while they can overlook the spanning rice paddies and fields laid out before them. Hinata was slightly awestruck. It's a beautiful place. Sound built a base here? Tayuya nodded, yeah. Don't let the scenery fool you though, this place has been the site of many battles. It made it super easy for Orochimaru to come in and take control with promises of bringing power and prestige back to the diminished clans. He was good at that. It was how he convinced most of the Sound Five to remain loyal to him. Though in her case, it was stay or die. Now that he's gone, the clans here will probably tear themselves back apart in no time. Naruto frowned at that, not liking the idea of war coming back to such a peaceful-looking place. Maybe we could step in. It feels, I don't know, a little snake-like but we could offer them a chance with us. As one clan trying to rebuild to another. Tayuya shrugged, I think the main clan here now is the Fuma clan. I can't remember though, that clan is about as splintered as a clan can get. Karen snorted, more than our own? Granted, there weren't many Uzumaki left. Most likely they were the largest group left in the nations. Tayuya led them on a winding trail, sticking to the trees and crossing over quiet roads when they had to. Thankfully, this seemed to be a nation of rice fields and quiet towns so far. Soon however, they were back in a tree-filled forest and Tayuya had them drop down to ground level. Why are we stopping here? Naruto asked as Tayuya looked around. Hinata had activated her eyes and poked Naruto, massive collection of people below us, looks like we're here. Karen nodded, my senses are picking up more guards than before, some of which are pretty powerful. Hinata's eyes were scanning as far as she could see, two sections mainly. A prison section with roughly 80 to 90 guards, and another smaller section that has less than 6. Those 6 are easily stronger than everyone else. The group walked forward until they came upon the base entrance. Grinning Naruto made simple clones to flash away and warn Koyuki and Tazuna. Then he prepared to spam hardened clones. I need directions, girls. Hinata nodded, for the prison, maybe 30 meters past the entrance you'll come to a tunnel that branches out towards 3 different directions. Take the rightmost one. That leads down to the prison. It's set up much the same as the southern base. Got it. Welling up chakra and making hardened clones from the start, he added a mix of Kurama's chakra as well. Again making hundreds at a time to try and keep the chakra flare down, the clones silently began making their way inside. At even intervals, he continued to make more. Karen smiled, you could probably take over a country on your own once you get good enough. Tayuya thought about that one, let's shelve that one for later. Naruto shook his head, sounds like a headache. Though, earth and lightning definitely deserved a visit from him. Water too. Hinata's head darted to the side, someone's coming, not a sound ninja however. By chakra, I'd say Chunin level at best. Tayuya and Karen nodded, you good Naruto? They had worked out a plan for single enemies. I'm good, I'll keep up the clone spam. Feeling the 3 jump away and hide themselves, he took a knee and focused on his task. Being live bait could be fun. Not far away and making good time through the trees, Sasami of the Fuma clan had finally had enough and was going to bring Erasure and the others back come hell or death. Rolling up her face mask into a beanie and releasing her orange hair as she got closer and not detecting anyone, she saw the clearing where the sound base was supposed to be. Jumping down to ground level and straightening, she was confused at the lone blonde sitting on the ground with his eyes closed. What was this kid doing here? Opening her mouth to say something, she had all of a second before she was surrounded. Wah! Tayuya had her by the arms, foot in her back, while Hinata held a chakra-covered hand to her forehead. Next to them, Karen held a ram's seal, earth coming up and wrapping around the girl's shins and forcing her to her knees. Identify yourself. Hinata's voice was cold and harsh. It nearly sent Sasami to wetting herself. I am here looking for my cousin. Erasure. I'm trying to put my clan back together and bring them back from that asshole Orochimaru. She knew she was seconds from death, but they hadn't killed her right away. Maybe that meant something? Karen held her seal, we plan on razing this place to the ground, do you have a problem with that? Not at all, like I said, I'm just here for my clan, nothing more. She knew better than trying to struggle at this point, the girl in front of her could probably kill her if she so much as twitched wrong. Naruto finally looked back at the girl, taking in the green cargo shorts and gray vest. She wasn't a sound mean, no body modifications in sight. You said you're Fuma clan? The girl nodded very slowly, conscious of Hinata's hand at her forehead. No offense, but we're in the middle of an operation. But I'll make sure to give anyone of the Fuma clan the option to leave with you instead. What's your name? Sasami. You can also tell them that Hanzaki sent me. Got it. Making a clone and dispelling it with the new information, the boy turned back to making hundreds of clones at a time. One clone split off from the force, coming around and placing a paper seal on Sasami's back. She immediately lost all connection to her chakra. What is this? The girls all backed away and let her go. Tayuya walked around her and grinned, just to make sure you don't try anything. If you're being honest, we'll bring out your friends and let you go soon. Hinata turned her attention back to the operation, walking to kneel by Naruto's side to give him updated prisoner numbers. Karen, however, focused on the girl. Sorry, but while we're trying to liberate prisoners, we don't want to take a chance of being backstabbed. We really will let you go once we're finished here. Sasami watched the girls take defensive points around the man, now sure that he was the one actually in charge. Why were they liberating prisoners? How do I know you won't just take me and everyone else you find to wherever you're going? How do I know you're better than Orochimaru? How could they even manage that with 4 people? Unseen to her, Naruto just grinned. You don't, but that's what trust is about. Sending the next group in with directions to explore the other tunnels, he tried to focus on his work. However, he almost immediately turned his head to focus a purple eye on the girl. Think I just ran into some of your Fuma clan. Who? Any of them Arisher? Trying to stand, she found that moving was nearly impossible. If only she could get this seal off and go inside herself. Naruto shrugs, filtering through the information being fed to him. Kotoheim, Kamakiri, Kajiro, and Jigumo. You know him? Yes, those are clan members of mine, please. Try to convince them to give this up. She didn't have to think at all about that. They needed every clan member they could get right now. No promises. I can offer them the deal, but if they choose to fight, well. Naruto himself knew he was good with words, but not everyone was willing to talk. Sasami looked down to the ground, relaxing on her knees. We all in our own way, just wanted to bring our clan back to glory, to have some standing on our own. But it's been so hard, with all the wars and the skirmishes with bandits and gangs, it's tiring. I just want everyone back now. Can you, at least give them the chance to surrender? Well, that was a familiar story. Touched, Naruto nodded. Everyone gets a chance. Making a new group of clones, they hurtled off to confront the Fuma. Karen and Tayuya came forward, Karen kneeling down to his other ear while Tayuya scanned the tree-line. There shouldn't be anything valuable here, but we should check just in case. We know where the offices are here. Seeing Naruto nod and make a couple dozen clones just for them, the Uzumaki girls and their guards were off and into the entrance themselves. Hinata stayed by his side, scanning the area and also paying attention to the action below them. Looks like all the guards are down. Prisoners are being evacuated quickly at this point. You might need another 100 clones to finish the job. Seeing him nod as sweat began to bead on his forehead, she considered that this was a lot he was taking on. After this, maybe she could convince him to take a longer break between missions. A few minutes before and down below, and on a different path, a cell of a dozen clones raced along the dim hallway. Another dozen clones were disguised as insects, as was becoming their normal. Everyone in the group slowing as they came upon an open room, they were greeted with a beautiful woman with long dark hair holding a koto. Strumming a few times and producing a wonderful melody, she bowed to the group. Welcome, my name is Kotoheim. My duty is to entertain guests. This will be your stop. One of the clones takes the lead, drawing her attention while several of his bug brothers made their way around the room. What is your full name? We have orders to allow Fuma to surrender. Kotoheim giggled at the courage of this one, that a clone would think they could defeat me. Tell you what, I am Kotoheim of the Fuma clan. If you defeat me, I'll happily go with you, cutie. Strumming her instrument again, she readied herself for a quick battle. The lead clone grins as he notices one of his brothers has made contact with her. Feeling memories and information transfer, the clone nodded. Cool, the name checks out. Bag her. Bag whom no dash suddenly feeling weak, she slumps forward and topples to her side. Struggling to look back, there's a clone there who finishes placing a seal on her back. All done here. The previously transformed bug clone unseals some rope and ties her up securely before picking up the woman in his arms, while another clone grabs her instrument. Take her up top, we'll continue on ahead. Roger. The pair raced ahead with their mark while the rest of the group shot ahead. Bouncing along as the clone of the blonde holds her, Kotoheim doesn't know what to think. That she was defeated so easily and quickly. Truly, seals were a frightening thing. The clone notices her watching him and grins. You know, such a pretty girl shouldn't be following after an asshole like Orochimaru. He's only using you after all, and he'll throw you away the second he no longer needs you. Blushing and looking away, the woman nodded, we know. But we were desperate and felt like we had no choice. The clan was at its wit's end and we figured we could use him as much as he used us. The clone nods, yeah, I get it. I'm trying to rebuild my own clan right now and it's some majorly hard work. But I'm making real friends and allies and it's coming together slowly. Maybe we could help each other with that, huh? Looking down and winking at the girl, besides, if all the Fuma women are beauties like you, I definitely won't mind lending you a hand. Looking away and hoping he doesn't see her blush, she considers that. It depends on the will of the clan. It's not like she knew him after all, he could be lying just as Orochimaru had. As they broke out onto the surface and travel for a short distance, they came upon the blonde ninja himself. He was flanked by a short-haired girl in a blank tank top and jacket, and Sasami? Kotoheim. Are you okay? Watching as the clone sat the older girl down next to herself, she was only a little confused as the clone grinned at them both and winked, dispelling itself. The second clone put down her koto not far away. I'm fine. I didn't really have a chance to put up a fight. Looking over first from Sasami and then at Naruto and Hinata, the older girl smiled, he seems to be a man of his word. So far. We're ninja, you know what that means. Hinata turned back to the others, Naruto is different. He wants to change this world that views us as tools. Naruto made one last bunch of clones before standing and stretching, taking a minute to let his reserves even out. I'll unseal you all once we're done and on our way out of here. I have no problem with the Fuma after all. He also wasn't looking for a kunai in the back. Sasami watched him for a minute, considering her options. She needed to see Erasure for herself, she needed to talk to him herself. You say you can be trusted, but sealing our chakra away like this and leaving us at your mercy doesn't build that. Let me go at least. When you find Erasure, I need to talk to him face to face. Naruto considered that. She wasn't wrong about that. If he was anyone else, he could do whatever he wanted to her and her friend right now. He wouldn't, but the thought was there. Making a brace of 6 clones, one unsealed Sasami and helped her to her feet. I'll unseal you, but not the other then. Like you said, to build trust. Seeing the girl nod gratefully, he turned back to the entrance. It'll take a little bit for your chakra to stabilize, that's why I unsealed you now. But I'm asking you to be patient and wait, we'll go in when we find your Erasure. That's all I ask. Thinking about it, she bows to him, thank you. No sweat, it's what I do. Inside there was another real battle already taking place. Even though the dozen clones in here had given these new Fuma ninja the option surrender and come back with them, they still decided to fight back. Kamakiri and Jigumo, however, were finding that the decision to fight most likely was the wrong one. Avoiding explosions and blasts of winds were hard enough, never mind that the clones were blazing fast, some of them appearing nearly within a blink of an eye. Seeing they were already losing and badly, Kajiro abandoned her disguise. Welling up her chakra, she was determined to make sure at least her friends would escape. She however missed the clone appearing at her side, sorry about this. No, the blast caught her full in the chest. Sending her flying to bounce off several stone pillars, Jigumo caught her and arced away from a blast of wind. A Naruto clone stood on the ceiling with its hands on its hips, we keep telling you, we don't want to fight you. That girl Sasami is trying to bring you all home. Isn't that important to you? You're fighting for someone who abandoned you. Watching as the trio raced away, collapsing a tunnel behind them, all of the clones groaned out. Well fuck, boss isn't going to like that. Clear the tunnel and let's go after them. Hi. They'd gotten a lot of practice clearing debris from the tunnel construction. They'd catch up in no time. Ahead of them and dodging through hallways and open rooms, the group of 3 finally catch up to Erasure himself. Looking at them in disgust, he watched them lower the injured Kajiro before him. Jigumo returned to his feet, these ninja are strong Erasure, heal up Kajiro and help us drive them out. We don't have time to waste. Erasure, however, just frowned. Why should I? Looking down at the labored breathing Kajiro, he shrugged from his seat. She failed. Failures die. What? You asshole, did you forget we're doing this for the clan? You'd let one of us die? For what? Muscles tensing, Jigumo couldn't believe this. Had Erasure truly changed so much? I guess you all failed together, didn't you? You're right, I'll have to rid myself of all of you. Erasure had been disguised as Orochimaru for so long, he was beginning to believe he was the Sannin himself. Leaping forward, the sting of betrayal in his heart, Jigumo raged and vowed to take down Erasure. He didn't make it 3 steps. Kamakiri was a step behind him, watching his clansmen fall in front of him. You bastard Erasure. What about the clan? What about us? The kunai that lodged in his forehead stalled any further questions. You aren't important. Not at all. Only I have the strength to bring everything back to how it should be. Beginning his clan's secret technique, the casualty puppet, he absorbed both Jigumo and Kamakiri into himself. Cocooning them onto his back, he strode forward and knelt down to heal the heavily injured Kajiro. He watched idly as her burnt flesh smoothed and healed. Most likely it wouldn't have killed her given time. Time, however, was not something they had. Task complete, Erasure stood as Kajiro recovered. What happened? Erasure just motioned back the way the 3 had come. You have a second chance. Go defeat the intruders, or die. Do not return before me again a failure. Seeing just what he had done to himself and her friends, Kajiro nodded with fear and raced away. What had they been fighting for? Why was all of this happening? Did any of it matter anymore? Coming out into a large room, not even a full 100 meters away from Erasure, she was confronted with more clones. They each were in defensive positions, but were giving her time. Look, we aren't going to tell you again, surrender and come with us. Sasami really wants you all back. Orochimaru has just been using you all for his own needs, he doesn't intend to help you at all. Doubt, worry, shame. Every negative emotion she could think of swirled inside of her. Her friends had died trying to save her. And now she was going to die if she didn't kill these ninja. And she already knew she couldn't. What was the harm then? Okay. Lowering herself to her knees, she held out her hands palm upward. I won't fight anymore. 2 Narutos came forward immediately, one slapping a seal on her back and the other catching her as she fell. Take her top side. On it. Clone picking her up and leaving, the rest considered their next move. Something with a lot of chakra is headed this way. Gotta be strong if we can sense it. Scatter. I'll stay and talk. One clone took charge while the rest transformed into what they could and hid themselves away. On the surface, the group watched as a clone appeared carrying a fair-skinned green-haired girl. Gently laying her down next to Kotoheim, the clone saluted and dispelled. Left alone and seeing Kotoheim and Sasami waiting for her, Kajiro finally let the tears flow. He hadn't been lying. Her friends hadn't needed to die. Sasami was at her side in a moment. What happened? Are you okay? Shaking her head, Kajiro explained, they're dead, Erasure. Arashi's gone mad. He killed them and used one of the forbidden techniques on their bodies. It's all gone so wrong, all wrong. Sasami picked the girl up and hugged her. I'm just glad you're okay. Rest up, I'll be back in a bit. Laying the girl down while Kotoheim tried to console her, Sasami turned to Naruto. I need to see for myself. Please. Nodding, Naruto turned to Hinata, who came up alongside him. All right, follow us. We know the way. Turning to his clones for a moment, he pointed, take care of them properly. Watch over the pretty girls, got it boss. Seeing the original sigh and jump away, the clone looked down and smiled at the pair. We're sorry. We want to save everyone we can. Kajiro shook her head. You tried. You tried much harder than you should have been expected to. Thank you. For giving us a chance. Naruto and the 2 girls flanking him were inside and racing down hallways within moments. Hinata tapped him for his attention. The prison section is empty, and Karen and Tayuya are headed back towards the surface. Got it, let's make this quick and get out of here. Creating one clone and unsealing a medium-sized yellow and black scroll, the clone took it and saluted, arcing down a different hallway when it had a chance. Do I want to know what that was for? Sasami was curious, but wouldn't push it. Ninja had their secrets after all. I won't let Orochimaru come back and take this place again. We're going to blow it apart once we're done here. Focusing and getting a report from his clones ahead, they come out into a wide open space that has already been damaged. Before them stands a grotesque monster. I guess this is Erishur? Sasami stared wide eyes at the man before them. That used to be. Yes. Walking forward, the girl raises her voice, Erishur. Are you still in there? Come back to us, and this? I thought you were going to help restore the clan, to bring us to glory. How does this accomplish that? Tears welling up at the corner of her eyes, the girl grimaced, how does killing our clansmen make our clan great? Erishur can't respond, instead only seeing the three ahead of him as targets to be crushed. Opening up his hands, he jumped and bounced between pillars while he launched webbing at the group to trap them. Everyone dashed away, Naruto frowning and feeling out his clones. Mentally making a plan, he watched as several clones moved to follow through. Unsealing the Kubikuribocho, he prepared to Shinshin. Hinata flipped out of the way of the strange webbing before jumping up and away towards this man Erishur. Already, she could see clones moving to engage and knowing Naruto, this was going to be fast. Watching the strange pods on the man's back sway and move, they spread out slightly as a new attack was being readied. Erishur was making hand seals, and she jumped forward to prevent him finishing them. The amount of chakra she could see did not bode well. Sasami watches it all happen in slow motion. Two Naruto clones appear in front of the pods holding Jigumo's and Kaikiri's corpses. In an explosion that rocks the room, both pods are blown away as the clones sacrifice themselves. Next, as Erishur is rattled by the shock and loss of extra chakra, Hinata initiates some attack, poking his chest and gut in several places. The girl jumped back out of range and Naruto is there a breath later with a sword slightly longer than he is tall already in mid-swing. Please! Sasami screamed while holding out a hand trying to get close. She didn't want to watch Erishur die when he was so close. Sword halting just before the man's neck, Naruto cursed his bleeding heart. Seeing a clone behind Erishur, giving him a thumbs up however, Naruto sighed and backed away, sealing away the sword. No blood for it today. Naruto and Hinata however watched as Sasami walked forward, tears streaming down her face. They turned away, giving the pair what privacy they could. Erishur dropped to his knees as he was cut off from his chakra. Realization began to set in on just what he had been doing. Sasami was shaking him, trying to talk to him, plead with him to come back. Shaking his head he knew he couldn't. I can't go back. We can fix this. You can atone. It'll be hard, but everyone will see you were just no. No I wasn't. I corrupted myself. I truly saw myself as Orochimaru. The things I've done, the things I've witnessed. I can't bring that back to the clan. I can't bring the clan glory. Looking at the girl in the eyes, blood beginning to trail from his nose, he gave her a bloody smile, but you can do what I couldn't. I think you have the strength for it. Leave me here. Bury me with my shame and failure. Sasami shook her head slowly, not ready to give up. But Naruto put his hand on her shoulder, and she looked up to him through teary eyes. He's made up his mind. And really think about it? Do you think the others will accept him? She didn't have to think about it to know he was right. Even in her heart she knew, none of them would. Even she was having a hard time with it. She had come all this way. To only recover to few of her clan. It was devastating. Leaning forward, she hugged him once. I'll take care of the clan in your place. I'll make them all proud. Erishur nodded, see that you do, bring the Fuma back from the brink. And keep what honor we have intact. Everyone looked up as the ground rumbled. Hinata looked at Naruto, who shook his head, not me. Erishur weakly pointed with a finger to the hall, best be going. There's a fail-safe that'll destroy the base if my chakra isn't felt anymore. I'm guessing these seals suppress it pretty good, huh? Looking up at them all, Erishur sighed, leave me. This is what I deserve. Sasami had to be pulled away by Naruto. The group jumping away. I'll take care of the clan. I promise. I'll make you proud, Erishur. They were soon gone down a dark hallway. Already have. The floor collapsed under him and darkness claimed him quickly. Making a quick exit, the group meets up with a surprised Tayuya and Karen. Motioning for everyone to leave, Naruto watches as his clones pick up Kajiro and Kotohime and they all put some distance between them and the base. Mentally giving his clone the signal, he knows his own bomb will go off shortly. The group gets a good distance away before the ground heaves upward and begins to collapse inward. A sickly yellow glow is issued forth from the cracks and fissures in the ground, but the explosion is minor, muted almost. When the dust settles and things stop rumbling, the ground is faced with a wide crater that's barren. Nothing alive in there, no grass, the few trees that had been caught are completely dead, but nothing else. Everyone turns to Naruto. I wanted to make sure Orochimaru couldn't come back and pick any of the corpses clean for information. That specific bomb kills anything organic within its radius. Tayuya shudders, that sounds absolutely terrifying. Naruto nodded, it is. I only plan on ever using it against Orochimaru. He's the one who loves experimenting on people. Taking a deep breath and turning to the Fuma ninja, Naruto reaches around and unseals Kajiro and Kotohime. Like I said, we're done here, so you're free to go. Sasami watches as Kotohime and Kajiro feel themselves out and return to their feet from the Naruto clone's arms. Kotohime a little slower than Kajiro. Just like that? Sasami asks quietly. Naruto nods, just like that. I meant it. I'm trying to rebuild my clan and build something new. I want to make sure people like us have a safe place that can be free from these useless wars. Thinking it over, Naruto holds out a hand. We could always use some allies. Want to team up, help each other? Sasami thinks about that. Naruto had been true to his word since he had caught her. He hadn't abused her or any of her clanmates. And the team with him seemed to respect him. It wouldn't hurt to have allies after all, though she would have to talk to Hanzaki. Looking at Kajiro, who nods slowly, and then Kotohime, who nods as well, the young Fuma nodded. I'm not the leader of my clan, right? Naruto shrugged, I figured, but you're pretty tough to come out here by yourself. I'll talk to Hanzaki, most likely you'll need to visit us yourself in order to finalize the deal. He won't just take our word for it. Sure. You operate in rice, right? What's this country like? Sasami sighed, we haven't seen our daimyo in a long time and we're pretty sure he's dead. Bandits are a big issue here, our family is just one group. And rival gangs pop up all of the time. We're trying to bring everything back together, but they seem determined to keep the fighting going. I'm sure it would go a long way towards gaining Hanzaki's trust if you helped get rid of some of those problems. Naruto seemed tired, but look at his bemused team. They already know what he's going to say. No help there. We'll think on it. We'll need to have an official sit down first. But if it's just bandits and gangs, we can absolutely work on that, if that means being allies in the end. Having another nation become friendly with them could only help. Hopefully. Karen tapped Naruto on the shoulder, we should get going. We have more ground to cover. Naruto nods, got it. Turning back to the Fuma women, Naruto sends them a wave, you take care now. Kotohime sends the boy a wink, don't you worry, I'll stay nice and pretty for you till you get back. Hearing Sasami gasp and turn to her quickly, while Kajiro just sighed in resignation, Naruto and the others jump away. Up in the trees and bounding in the opposite direction of the Fuma girls, Hinata finally deactivates her dojutsu. That was easily the longest she had used it and she was feeling it, why didn't you give them a Hiraishin tag? Naruto however, took one out and placed it in the upper branches of a tree. Because we aren't officially allies yet. Need a little more time than that. Just being cautious. Makes sense. I think I'll send word to Koyuki to try to contact the Rice Daimyo. Maybe we can make some progress that way as well. Or get some information. Bounding away at full speed now, the group looked for their next target. Scene change sitting atop the Hokage monument and watching over Konoha as the sun set, Sakura and Sasuke sat together in silence. Today Sasuke had no problem letting Sakura lean into him, their shared letter from Naruto on the ground between them under their hands. At least he's okay. Sakura's voice was quiet. HN. And it sounds like he's making progress. HN. More silence, the sun dipped lower. Sakura however felt some heat build up in her heart. Even though his hand was on hers, they felt miles apart right now. Sasuke, don't go somewhere I can't follow. Naruto's gone, I can't lose you too. Sighing and leaning back a bit, Sasuke tentatively pulled Sakura closer to him, I'm not going anywhere. Somehow this feels, I don't know, like I lost another family member. With a chuckle, the girl nudged him, you two are like brothers, might as well be brothers. I'm sure it's eating you up that you can't help him rebuild his clan like you both had hoped. That's Sasuke paused to think about that. It did hurt, a little. That wasn't all of it though. Some part of me wishes we could have gone with him. Surprised that he would say it out loud, the girl wrapped an arm around his waist as well. Me too. They sat in a more comfortable silence after that, watching the sun set over the village. This was their home, yes, but just like Naruto, they knew just how dark it could be. They, however, now had their own missions to attend to. Sakura sighed. I'm going to try and convince Tsunade to help me with my training. Naruto had suggested it. She had kind of turned herself into the team medic/mom. Might as well learn from the best. Sasuke nodded. He asked me if I'd look after his important people. Konohamaru at the top of the list. Guess that'll keep me busy in between training. Till he gets back at least. Should we worry at all? He mentioned to be careful around the council. Around Jiraiya. Jiraiya probably knows we have a good idea of where he went. And the council is always a problem. For short, trust no one but the team. That was something Sasuke had no problem doing. This village had taken a lot from them, he and Naruto. How much more could they lose? Sakura nodded. Time to train like crazy and surprise the hell out of him when he gets back. Maybe having a few little Uchiha running around would be a real surprise. Thumping her boyfriend, Sakura sighed. You both never should have become friends. Omake Gaara couldn't believe his luck. While he was attempting to turn over a new leaf, he didn't think his entire village would be so on board with him becoming the new Kazekage. Nepotism was a real thing, he supposed. But here they were, in the admin tower, while his brother and sister gossiped about something while he worked through paperwork. Yay him. Hey, did you hear? Apparently that brat the orange maelstrom is at it again. Kankuro was working on one of his puppets in the corner. Tools and pieces strewn out on the floor. Oh? What did the guy do now? Also, you can use his name, we all know him. Temari was only half interested. Grateful to the kid for letting them go for sure, and saving her brother. Kankuro waved a screwdriver in the air. Code names are badass and manly, you wouldn't understand. He had to dodge a thrown Senbon before continuing. I don't know how much of this is true, but they say there was a massive mushroom cloud off the coast of Fire Country. Some fishermen are saying there's a whole island that's just gone. Doesn't exist anymore. How nuts is that? Gaara considered that. What would make the other ninja use that much power all at once? Another tail beast maybe? Or perhaps someone powerful? Perhaps he's hunting down a powerful ninja. Kankuro shuddered. Anyone who needs that much overkill is definitely someone I don't want to mess with. Gaara shrugs. Maybe we should find out how to reach out to him. Could always use a powerful ally. He had heard the rumors that Naruto had left the leaf, though that particular information wasn't mainstream knowledge. Yet. Temari, however, hummed to herself with a hand to her chin. Laying on the couch, she considered the muscled blonde from the last time they had seen him. You know, he was kinda cute. Gaara gives his sister a flat stare. You can't date my friends. Especially my first friend. Temari grins something lecherous. I never said anything about dating. Kankuro covers his ears. La 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 la, I can't hear my sister talk about her love life. Nope, nah. No way. I didn't hear that. Keep it up and I'll start trapping my makeup. This isn't yours. And it's war paint. Gaara sighed. Maybe I'll have to warn Naruto himself to stay away from you, or I'll have to kill him. Temari rolled to her feet, heading for the door with thoughts on her mind. You know, he's the one that spared you last time. I can't only imagine how powerful he's gotten since then. Walking to the door, she made sure to mutter just loud enough for the two to hear her. Powerful men are such a turn-on. And then she was gone. Kankuro sighed and turned to Gaara. Where did we go wrong with her? Gaara shrugged and turned back to his paperwork. I blame father, it's easier that way. Fair. Both shuddered and prayed for the blonde's safety. Half a continent away in a tree bordering rice country, Naruto sneezed.